Chapter 1441. Qiao Xian's Deliberate Provocation. Who do you think you are? You're merely the daughter of a concubine. Do you believe I'm afraid of you? What a joke. I want to engage in an argument with you over the princess. You despicable person. Just you wait. Qiao Xian remained unruffled. She pursed her lips. How dare you mention me when your marriage was stolen by a concubine's daughter? I'm truly disappointed in you. You. Mississippi. Qiao He held on to Qiao Wei. We should return. Qiao Wei swallowed her anger and snorted disdainfully. She didn't let it escalate. Qiao Xian intercepted her and said with a smile, Miss Qiao, can't you take a jest? Look, I didn't get upset when you mentioned me and I was only speaking the truth. Why are you so agitated that your face contorted? Miss Qiao, don't head back with such a scowl, or people might think you bear a grudge against the princess. Qiao Wei was seething, trembling with anger. She bit her lips so hard it almost bled. She glared at Qiao Xian as if she could devour her. Qiao He couldn't tolerate it any longer. Madame Xiao, you've gone too far. What? Miss Qiao, you could have discussed it with me earlier, but I asked her to stay and exchange a few more words. Is that provocation? You little girl really need to learn some restraint in your speech. Besides, how can you interrupt when the masters are conversing? Miss Qiao, does it mean that the maid now makes decisions between the two of you? Why do you tolerate such insolence from a bold maid? This isn't like you. In the past, you would have put her in her place. Qiao Wei was seething with anger. In the past, she would have indeed done that. No, if it were in the past, you wouldn't dare to address me this way. Qiao Wei felt a profound inner conflict and bitterness whenever she thought about her past. Each encounter with Qiao Xian brought to mind the stark differences from the past. It left her feeling tortured and torn inside. Qiao He couldn't help but feel anger welling up within her. She remained silent after Qiao Xian's remark. Just you wait. Qiao Wei declared coldly, one day I will make you repay everything you owe me. Miss Qiao, you're absolutely right. Qiao Xian smiled. What do I owe you? On the contrary, I haven't settled the old score with you yet. Qiao Wei's heart skipped a beat, and her expression subtly changed. She was acutely aware of her past actions towards Qiao Xian. If Qiao Xian decided to confront her about it, leaning in close to her ear, Qiao Xian whispered in a low voice, let me offer you some advice. I don't care what you're planning, but it's in your best interest to stop it now and save yourself. Otherwise, don't blame me for getting tough. Qiao Wei sneered, pushed her away and stormed off angrily. This time, Qiao Xian didn't try to stop her. It appeared that Qiao Wei was indeed hatching a plan. Leisureness couldn't help but suggest, Madam, why don't we find a way for the old master to send both of them away? Wouldn't that save us a lot of trouble? Qiao Xian shook her head and chuckled. It's not that simple. Even the emissary doesn't have the authority to send her away. Moreover, since we're thorns in each other's sides, we're bound to clash sooner or later. If they were to confront each other in the capital, the other side would hold the upper hand. However, beyond the capital, the situation was uncertain. Her strength was not to be underestimated. Qiao Wei had endured humiliation followed by provocation. For several days she was so drained that she couldn't eat. If she weren't afraid of being expelled from the group, she might have fallen ill by now. With her last ounce of strength, she managed to persevere. This illustrated the immense power of hatred. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1442. The last stop in Great Qing. 20 days later, they finally reached Qingdi City, the largest city in the northwest. It was still early April, and spring had arrived unusually late in this highland region. The trees and flowers had just begun to bloom, and the fresh, tender greenery was exceptionally striking. The temperature fluctuated significantly between morning and evening. In the daytime, the sky stretched out vast and azure, occasionally graced by the elegant flight of a hawk. When one gazed upward, the bird appeared as a tiny, distant speck. Qingdi City boasted a substantial station, where welcoming personnel awaited their arrival to make arrangements. As Qiao Xian and her entourage approached, local officials emerged from the city to extend their greetings and escort them to the station. After Qiao Xian acknowledged the officials' greetings, she proceeded to her lodgings. Princess Xuanfu suddenly wore a smile. Madame Xiao, join me in the garden. The rest of you please don't follow. Yes, Princess. Auntie C and the others bowed and withdrew. The courtyard within the courier station occupied a significant expanse, but the scenery was unremarkable during this time of the year. It was impractical to cultivate delicate flowers here, given the harsh conditions, and there was a lack of time, energy, and resources to tend to it. Hence, most of the plants in this garden were hardy and adapted to withstand cold and drought. At present, fresh shoots were sprouting and new leaves were unfurling, providing a somewhat pleasant sight, albeit a bit monotonous. Princess Xuanfu took slow, measured steps with her head lowered, and Xiao Xian followed in her wake. No words were exchanged between them. Upon their arrival in Huning City, Princess Xuanfu, Auntie Si, Biyun, and the other dowry attendants couldn't help but feel a noticeable sense of despondency. Such sentiments were to be expected. Huning City marked the westernmost point of the Great Qin Empire. Beyond it, after departing the Western Pass, the land would cease to be part of the Great Qin Empire. Should they continue northward, it would likely take them another month and a half to reach the Qingdi royal court. The path beyond the pass was treacherous, causing inevitable delays in their daily journey. Unpredictable extreme weather conditions might necessitate midday stops for shelter and rest, further elongating their journey. They were on the brink of departing from their homeland. Despite any dissatisfaction she felt within the palace's confines, it remained a place of familiarity and comfort, a true hometown. As for Qingdi, what lay ahead was uncertain. How could her heart remain untroubled? In the presence of others, Princess Xuanfu maintained her composure, concealing any inappropriate emotions. She had already displayed remarkable self-control. Princess Xuanfu paused and fixed her gaze on the young, tender leaves before her, lost in contemplation. The trees at the northwest border differed from those in the capital. Their trunks bore rough, wrinkled bark, and their leaves were diminutive. With a soft sigh, Princess Xuanfu spoke with a self-deprecating smile. At this time of year, the ladies and young ladies in the capital are busy organizing various flower-viewing banquets, aren't they? I recall that honored Princess Mei in the palace hosts a splendid peony flower banquet each year, and it's a source of pride for all the capital's ladies and young ladies to attend. I suspect this year's peony flower banquet will be a beauty competition. Xiao Xian smiled. At this time of year? Peonies haven't bloomed yet, have they? Even in the capital, it's still quite chilly during this season. Princess Xuanfu chuckled. I forgot how knowledgeable you are about flowers and trees. But, Madame Xiao, you might not be aware that although the peonies haven't bloomed yet, the palace's gardeners are already preparing the peonies for honored Princess Mei. After all, how could honored Princess Mei outshine the rest without an early start? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1443, Secret Fear. Xiao Xian nodded with a smile. I understand. A sharp eagle cry echoed from the sky above, and both of them looked up simultaneously. The vast blue sky seemed to stretch endlessly, and a majestic black goshawk extended its wings, exuding a commanding presence. Princess Xuanfu couldn't help but sigh with admiration. It can soar so high and freely. I truly envy it. Xiao Xian suddenly grasped Princess Xuanfu's arm and gave it a gentle squeeze. Princess Xuanfu was taken aback but quickly caught on to her meaning. She abandoned her previous statement and said, I really envy it. It's so powerful and agile. I wonder if it'll encounter such a goshawk in Qingdi. Xiao Xian smiled and was about to continue when a hearty laugh sounded from behind them. Prince? Xiao Xian curtsied and stepped back a few paces. Princess Xuanfu also offered her respects. Greetings, Prince. Princess, you're most welcome. Madame Xiao, you're welcome as well. Your presence has greatly enriched our journey. Prince Nua waved his hand, approached, and beamed at Princess Xuanfu. Princess, there's no need to envy such a goshawk. In Qingdi we have many individuals even stronger and more formidable than it. I'll introduce you to them. Really? Princess Xuanfu exclaimed in surprise. That's wonderful. Thank you, Prince. Ah, you're welcome, ha ha ha. I'm delighted as long as the princess enjoys it. I must admit, I initially misunderstood and thought the princess didn't appreciate our Qingdi, but it seems I was mistaken. Princess Xuanfu offered a shy smile. Prince, you're only jesting. I find the scenery along the way quite fascinating, and I'm eagerly anticipating our arrival in Qingdi. Ha! Qingdi won't disappoint the princess, I can assure you. Prince Nua laughed heartily. Xiao Xian sensed that she might be intruding, so she considered leaving. However, just as she was about to make her exit, Prince Nua bid his farewell and departed. Before his departure, he suddenly added, By the way, although Huning City may not match the grandeur of your capital, it still has a vibrant atmosphere. Princess, you might want to explore it. They planned to stay in Huning City for the next 5 to 6 days before resuming their journey. Princess Xuanfu was secretly delighted but seemed a bit hesitant. "I'm not sure if it's appropriate." "Oh, don't worry about it." Prince Nua chuckled and reassured her. "Princess, you're welcome to go shopping. We, the people of Qingdi, don't mind at all. If I have the chance, I'll venture out for a look." "Thank you, Prince." "Haha, you're too kind, Princess." After watching Prince Nua depart, Princess Xuanfu let out a long sigh of relief. She staggered slightly, swaying on her feet. Xiao caught her and offered support. "Princess." "I'm all right," she murmured, her lips trembling. She cast a thankful glance at Xiao and confessed with lingering unease, "Madame Xiao, thank you. You've given me a fresh lease on life." Xiao shook her head. "Please, Princess, there's no need to say that." "No, it's the truth." She smiled wryly. "I've been foolish and self-absorbed. We've reached this point and am still being so melodramatic and resistant. If Prince Nua caught wind of my reluctance to leave Great Qin and my apprehension about Qingdi, the repercussions would be catastrophic." She shuddered and closed her eyes, gripped by lingering fear. If Prince Nua were to discover her reluctance and resistance to embracing Qingdi, the consequences would be unimaginable. Once such an impression was formed, it would be exceedingly difficult to change it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1444. Long blessings. Upon seeing her pale countenance, Xiao became deeply concerned. She gently took hold of Princess Xuanfu's hands and reassured her. "The concerns you had, they didn't materialize, did they? That's a sign of your good fortune, Princess. Your future holds promise." Princess Xuanfu smiled and nodded in agreement. "Yes, thank you for your well wishes. And you too have a long and prosperous life ahead." They exchanged warm smiles. Neither of them felt like continuing with their shopping, so Xiao escorted Princess Xuanfu back to her accommodations before heading to her own residence. Princess Xuanfu closed the door and summoned Auntie Si, Bai Yun, and the other servants. She informed them of the recent garden incident and issued a stern reminder. Auntie Si and the others were visibly shaken, their expressions changing dramatically. They exclaimed, "That was a close call." If Princess Xuanfu were to incur Prince Nua's displeasure, their roles as servants would be rendered ineffective. Princess Xuanfu sighed, saying, "We're already in this situation. Regardless of what others may think, fretting won't change a thing. I implore you all to remain composed and well-behaved. Aunt, have a talk with everyone, ensure they serve diligently in the days to come, and discourage any frowning, sighing, or speaking of inauspicious matters. Anyone who commits such an offense will face severe consequences. I won't be lenient." Princess Xuanfu couldn't disclose the garden incident to the ordinary servants, but she needed to instill discipline. Auntie Si quickly agreed, promising to teach the others a valuable lesson. With Prince Nua's assistance, Princess Xuanfu arranged for Qiao to go shopping in the marketplace 2 days later. This was exactly what Qiao had hoped for. Both of them concealed their identities and each brought along a maid. They followed 4 guards who were disguised as servants. Over 10 more guards were covertly mingling in the surrounding crowd. They set off in the morning. The architecture in Huning City displayed a rugged and unrefined quality. While ornate carvings were scarce, the structures exuded grandeur. Some shops were operated by foreign merchants and carried an air of faux exoticism. The city's residents were accustomed to this ambience, but for Qiao and Princess Xuanfu, it was a delightful novelty. Princess Xuanfu in particular had never encountered such an atmosphere before. Her eyes sparkled with fascination. The entire day was filled with admiration and shopping. Princess Xuanfu and Xiao couldn't resist making several purchases themselves. They planned to leave the items at the relay station and collect them on their way back. Princess Xuanfu wanted to express her gratitude and insisted on paying for Xiao. With her newfound affluence, she had no reservations about it. Xiao, understanding her intentions, accepted the gesture with a gracious smile. However, this meant they had to be more discerning when shopping, favoring affordable yet exquisite items over expensive ones. They could always shop again on their return journey and select some finer items then. It was rumored that the city offered a wide selection of gems and jade at reasonable prices. With a bit of luck, they might discover exceptional finds. The two of them spent the entire day happily wandering around, even dining at a local restaurant before returning to the courier station in the evening. Given the rules in the Great Qin Empire, and even if Qingdi had fewer restrictions, Princess Xuanfu, as a princess involved in a marriage alliance, lacked the freedom to wander freely outside. Her day out was indeed a rare occurrence. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1445. The woman outside the door. If they were to spend another day out, despite the leniency granted by the Prince of Qingdi's words, it would no longer be deemed appropriate. Any untoward incident could be hard to bear for anyone involved. Princess Xuanfu fully comprehended the situation and decided not to venture out the following day. Xian also stayed at the relay station to keep her company, and they planned to depart in a couple of days. In Huning City, the day began early and stretched into the late hours. The next morning, while it was still dark in the capital, the sun had already risen in Huning City. Qiao Wei had woken up unusually early today and was aimlessly wandering around the relay station. A sleepless night had left her seething with anger, and her vexation drove her out of bed. During yesterday's shopping excursion with Princess Xuanfu, they both accompanied her, yet Princess Xuanfu only took Xian along and seemingly overlooked Qiao Wei's presence in the intermediary. This oversight incensed her to the point of near explosion. Her frustrations led her to unleash a barrage of curses late into the night. These emotional blows had repeatedly left her questioning her own worth and place in the world. They were all on Xian's side. What could possibly be so special about that woman? She was just the daughter of a lowly concubine, no different from a servant. While she had witnessed Xian's humility before, the sting of this situation felt particularly painful. A servant approached, and as they passed by her, they respectfully bowed. Qiao Wei called out to the maid, "What are you up to?" The maid replied with a servile smile, "There's a woman outside with a girl. She claimed that the girl was hired by Madame Xiao yesterday and is here to receive her instructions. I thought it best to inform Madame Xiao." Qiao Wei, driven by both curiosity and a hint of malice, responded with a smile, "Very well, you may return for now. I will inform Madame Xiao later. It's still early and Madame Xiao has not yet awakened. Besides, I must attend to the princess, leaving me with no time to deal with such matters. I'll go and see her." The servant, without any suspicion, readily agreed and turned to depart. Qiao Wei concealed her cold smile and exited the relay station with Qiao He. As anticipated, a woman and a young girl were waiting outside the courier station. The girl, dressed in worn yet impeccably clean clothes, appeared to be around 14 or 15 years old. She was slight and fragile, with a slightly pallid complexion and dull hair, neatly combed. Her hands were fidgeting, revealing a touch of uneasiness. The woman in her 30s possessed a round face, fair skin and a plump figure. She wore maroon attire and had silver hairpins adorning her bun. Energetic and periodically peering inside, she displayed a look of delight upon spotting Qiao Wei, unaware of her identity. After a moment of hesitation, she approached, bowed and offered a cheerful greeting. "Miss Madame Xiao, are you here?" Qiao Wei sneered, wearing an air of self-importance. "Madame Xiao is currently occupied, so you may inform me of your purpose." The woman responded with an obsequious smile. "Certainly. In that case, please take Mian with you. Madame Xiao mentioned yesterday that having this girl employed to serve her is a stroke of good fortune." Having spoken, she gently urged the young girl forward. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1446. Intercept. Qiao Wei instructed, "Come with me, I still have some questions for you." The woman and Mian obediently followed her into a small parlor. Qiao Wei took a seat at the head of the room, while the woman and Mian stood in front of her. As it turned out, when Xian and Princess Xuanfu were shopping at a foreign vendor's stall, they encountered a language barrier. While most shop owners in Huning City could exchange a few words, exceptions existed. Mian, who happened to be selling food and carrying a large basket, had stepped in with a smile to assist. Mian was a well-mannered and clever young girl who had been in the business for a long time, and she was adept at communicating. Both Xian and Princess Xuanfu had taken a liking to her. Originally, they had merely intended to support Mian's business. Upon noticing her handling the massive basket, they purchased more than half of its contents, presenting her with 5 taels of silver without her noticing. Mian was also a grateful individual and recognized that no one in her line of work could speak foreign languages. She proposed the idea of accompanying them around and assisting with translation. After all, she had managed to sell many items that day, which would suffice to report to her aunt. This arrangement suited Xiao Xian and Princess Xuangfu perfectly. Mian Mian had spent many years in this street market and was intimately acquainted with it. Her presence significantly simplified their shopping experience. Mian Mian possessed proficiency in various foreign languages and could facilitate smooth communication. Moreover, she excelled in haggling, consistently securing substantial price reductions, much to the amusement of Princess Xuangfu. A thought occurred to Qiao Xian. Even if she were to visit Qingdi, she wouldn't understand their language. While Qingdi would arrange for a translator proficient in the Qin language, they were not aligned on the same side. Consequently, he offered her a half-hearted smile and suggested, "Since we are heading to Qingdi, why don't you join us? I'll employ you for a few months. How does that sound? In terms of compensation, it will certainly surpass your current earnings. They'll provide you with 100 taels per month. Does that suit you?" Mian Mian readily agreed, displaying her happiness. Fearful that Qiao Xian might retract her offer, Qiao Xian urged Mian Mian to wait for her while they dined at the restaurant. Qiao Xian hurried home to confer with her aunt. Mian Mian had already lost her parents and had been residing with her uncle and aunt for several years, making her life far from comfortable. She was more than willing to leave even if only for a few months. Mian Mian's aunt, Mrs. Mao, promptly consented upon hearing the promised monthly compensation of 100 taels. She did not concern herself with the perils Mian Mian might encounter while journeying to the distant Qingdi in the west. Mrs. Mao, however, had one condition: she required a portion of the money up front. At the very least, she insisted on receiving more than half of the sum in advance. Mrs. Mao had calculated that even if they never returned the money, observing the situation and hearing Mian Mian address her as aunt, Qiao Xian could deduce the circumstances surrounding Mian Mian. She agreed to provide an initial payment of 200 taels and the remaining amount upon Mian Mian's return. She instructed them to prepare for their departure, so they could meet with Madame Xiao the following day or the day after. Gratefully, Mrs. Mao accepted the arrangement. Little did Xiao Wei anticipate that Mrs. Mao would be so impatient as to arrive early the next morning. She brought along both a gift and the money. Upon hearing this account, Xiao Wei regarded Mian Mian with a cold and disdainful look. She mused to herself that a person of lowly status would remain just that, and such a girl was only appealing to her kind. Even if Mian Mian were offered to her for free, she would never desire someone of her sort. Only Qiao Xian would be willing to part with 200 or 300 taels of silver. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1447. Up to no good, Xiao Wei and Xiao Yunduan had amassed considerable wealth. However, Qiao Wei's aim wasn't merely to accumulate riches. She harbored a desire to take Qiao Xian's possessions. This time, she had received a substantial sum of silver from someone, enough to provide 200 taels. Nevertheless, she believed it was necessary to negotiate a lower price. 200 taels? Qiao Wei sneered and cast an incredulous look at Mrs. Mao. "You're just a girl. Do you genuinely believe she's worth 200 taels? Do you think Madame Xiao is so easily deceived?" Both Mrs. Mao and Mian Mian were left bewildered. Mrs. Mao's eyes widened and she stammered, "Miss, what do you mean?" "I mean that Madame Xiao is reneging on her agreement." "What? That's inconceivable." Though Mian Mian's voice was barely audible, Qiao Wei managed to catch her words. Feeling uneasy, she scoffed at her and retorted, "Why not?" Under the weight of her piercing gaze, Mian Mian involuntarily shrank. Despite her firm stance, she reluctantly replied. Lowering her gaze, she whispered apprehensively, "Madame Xiao doesn't seem like someone who would go back on her word." Qiao Wei, seething with anger, snapped, "What do you know? Who do you think you are? How long have you known Madame Xiao? Do you understand her character? Do you possess the authority to determine her actions? Unbelievable. Don't be upset, don't be upset." Mrs. Mao was taken aback by Qiao Wei's sudden rage. She pinched Mian Mian and urged her to kneel. "What are you saying? Hurry and apologize to Miss." Mian Mian, terrified by Qiao Wei's sudden outburst, had tears in her eyes. She dared not speak, let alone cry, and knelt in a pitiable and forlorn manner. "Miss, please refrain from getting upset. This girl is unable to speak. Please don't be angry. Madame Xiao's conduct is quite deplorable. How could she act so unethically?" Qiao Wei let out a cold snort. Having vented most of her frustration, she was starting to regain her composure. With a disdainful snort, Qiao Wei turned to Ms. Mao and remarked, "Madame Xiao's untrustworthiness is hardly surprising. She may seem genteel, but I believe this girl is of good character. Since you're here, how about I employ her?" Ms. Mao was delighted and nodded, saying, "All right. Thank you, miss. Just give me the 200 taels of silver, and this girl will accompany you." 200 taels? Qiao Wei found it amusing. Money doesn't grow on trees. Look at this girl, is she worth 200 taels? I only have 20 taels on hand. If that doesn't suffice, then take her away. What? Had it not been for Qiao Xian's initial offer, Ms. Mao might have agreed to the proposal. After all, it was a substantial sum. However, Qiao Xian had initially promised 200 taels, and now that figure had dwindled to a mere 20 taels, which was unacceptable. This is far too little. Miss, could you add a bit more? Just a tad, please. Ms. Mao tried to negotiate, a hopeful smile on her face. Mian was taken aback, clutching Ms. Mao's hand and beseeching in a tearful tone, Auntie, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to leave. Please. Qiao Wei was strikingly attractive, but her temperament was far from pleasant. She regarded Ms. Mao with a disdainful gaze that cut like a knife. Instinctively, Ms. Mao felt a sense of trepidation. If she allowed Mian to accompany Qiao Wei, perhaps Mian should just stay with her uncle and aunt. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1448. Refused. Qiao Wei sneered and fixed her gaze on Mian with increasing resentment. What on earth did this insolent girl mean? She had lavished praise on Qiao Xian in front of her and shown contempt towards her behind her back. She was determined to hire her. Have you come to a decision? Qiao Wei addressed Ms. Mao with a sly smile. I wouldn't want you to make this trip in vain. Very well, I'll sweeten the deal with an extra 10 taels of silver. If you agree, you can depart with the money. 30 taels was no paltry sum. Ms. Mao's eyes gleamed with anticipation. While it might not be as lucrative as 200 taels, it was certainly better than nothing. The young lady couldn't even make 30 taels in a year from selling her scraps, and this journey would last no more than 2 months. It was a worthwhile opportunity. All right. Ms. Mao responded without hesitation, her smile broad. Thank you, miss. I'm truly grateful. I'll stay here and serve you. Qiao Wei smirked with condescension. Qiao He, provide her with the banknotes. No. Mian began to sob, clutching onto Ms. Mao's arm and refusing to let go. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Aunt, please no. Let's go back, please. We can return. I'll sell lots of things in the future and earn a lot of money for you. Please don't let me go, I beg you. You. Let go of me. Ms. Mao scolded, pushing Mian away. Frustration overcame her, and she slapped Mian's face while scolding, Stop crying. Do you have any idea where you are? Why are you making a scene? Qiao He frowned. If you're this unwilling, you should leave. Qiao Wei shot an irritated glance at Qiao He. In response, Qiao He raised an eyebrow, giving her a stern look as a warning, unwilling to yield. She didn't want to complicate matters, and she understood that Qiao Wei was petty and lacked magnanimity. She cared only about her present happiness. But Mian was merely an insignificant girl, and it wouldn't matter to Qiao Xian if she were taken away from her. Ms. Mao grew increasingly agitated upon hearing those words. No, I'll do it. She yanked Mian so forcefully that the poor girl tumbled to the ground. Seizing her by the collar, Ms. Mao gritted her teeth and admonished her in a low, threatening tone. Shut up. Cease this nonsense or I'll teach you a lesson you won't forget. Do you think I won't sell you? Mian's heart raced and she gazed at Ms. Mao in fear, unable to utter a word. Satisfied, Ms. Mao sneered, That's more like it. Clean yourself up. Miss, it's all a misunderstanding. It's just a misunderstanding, she quickly explained. This child has never been far from home and she's naturally a bit apprehensive. Once she thinks it through, she'll be fine. There's no need to worry if she follows you, Mississippi. Please hand me the money. I'll depart right away and won't delay you any further. Madam Xiao. Mian suddenly cried out in surprise. She scrambled to her feet and rushed towards Qiao Xian, Lixia and Liqiao, instinctively seeking refuge behind Qiao Xian. Ms. Mao was taken aback. Qiao Wei was furious and promptly ordered Qiao He, Give her the banknotes. Madam Xiao. Mian was anxious. Qiao Xian, with a gentle smile, shook his head, reassuring her not to worry. For some reason, in the presence of Qiao Xian, her anxieties melted away, as if she had found a steadfast ally and a sanctuary. Ms. Mao, glancing toward Qiao Xian involuntarily, noted his lack of response. She felt disappointed and a touch of irritation that he had not kept his word. However, aware that she couldn't afford to offend him, she refrained from voicing her displeasure. With a grateful smile, she accepted the banknote from Qiao. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1449. What you say doesn't count. It was 30 taels. Ms. Mao was overjoyed, her face lighting up with a delighted smile. Qiao Wei shot a triumphant glance at Xiao Xian, her expression tinged with disdain. In response, Xiao Xian instructed Liqiao to provide Ms. Mao with the 200 taels of silver and cheerfully remarked, "Sister-in-law, you've come early today. Please take the money. As we agreed yesterday, you can now leave with the silver." What? Ms. Mao was puzzled by the sudden turn of events. Qiao Wei was incensed. "Xiao Xian, what's the meaning of this?" Xiao Xian gave Ms. Mao a pointed look. "You may depart now." Although Ms. Mao was baffled by the situation, she could sense the tension between these two individuals. Nonetheless, she cared little about their feud. Her primary focus was on the money she now possessed. Ms. Mao nodded with a contented smile, ensuring she collected the banknotes from Liqiao before she left. Liqiao didn't object to this, and Ms. Mao couldn't contain her laughter as she made her hasty exit. Qiao Wei scowled and called out, "You come here." Xiao Xian chuckled. "She is under my care, it's not for you to decide." "Shame on you." Xiao Xian burst into laughter. "Miss Qiao, did I mishear you? Why are you lecturing me about shame?" Didn't she realize who the real culprit was? Although he didn't voice it aloud, Qiao Wei felt deeply embarrassed and irritated by the mockery. Xiao Xian continued, "Princess Xuanfu testified yesterday, and Ms. Mao and I agreed to hire Mian Mian. I haven't changed my mind. Mian Mian is now in my employ, so what exactly do you want to discuss with me?" Qiao Wei was left speechless and seething with anger. She hadn't anticipated Xiao Xian's audacity. With a sneer, she retorted, "Everything operates on a first-come, first-served basis. I was the one who paid Ms. Mao first. I have nothing to do with why you paid Ms. Mao, and I couldn't care less. Mian Mian is now under my employment, and I have no intention of changing my mind. It makes no sense for you to attempt to snatch her away from me. Moreover, the aunt and niece approached me willingly, while you sent the maid away halfway. I haven't even inquired about your intentions, and now you're claiming to have been first? Why don't we consult with the princess?" "You." Qiao Wei seethed with rage. Xiao Xian unfazed smiled. "If you wish, we can approach her now." Qiao Wei clenched her fists and glared at Xiao Xian with intense animosity. Xiao Xian was accustomed to her behavior and didn't take it to heart. "If you're not willing, then so be it. As for the 30 taels of silver, I doubt it means much to you, does it? If you're genuinely concerned, you can arrange for someone to retrieve it from Ms. Mao. That's not my concern." Having said her piece, Xiao Xian exchanged a glance with Mian Mian and then remarked with a smile, "Let's go." Mian Mian swiftly followed. "Fool. Wretch." Qiao Wei screamed as she smashed a teacup in frustration. She had been duped in front of Xiao Xian, handing over 30 taels of silver for nothing, and Xiao Xian had even taunted her. When she had given her the money, Xiao Xian must have been inwardly delighted. "This wretched girl, I want her to suffer. I want her to meet a gruesome end." He cautioned her in a hushed voice, "Young lady, please refrain from uttering such words." Qiao Wei gritted her teeth and fell silent. She despised Xiao Xian so profoundly that she could only take solace in the thought that Xiao Xian and her husband would encounter misfortune. Hearing Mian Mian's words, Xiao Xian consoled her and sighed. She simply said, "How about this, Mian Mian? Would you be willing to be purchased by me? If you earn enough money in the future and wish to redeem yourself, I won't stand in your way. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1450. She was angry those very aunt and uncle might eventually betray her. She might as well follow her instead. Mian Mian didn't hesitate for a moment and quickly nodded in agreement. She dropped to her knees and tearfully declared, "I am more than willing to follow you, Madame Xiao." After contemplating for a moment, she realized that these words might not sufficiently convey her sincerity. She added, "Please, madam, purchase me. I will work diligently and follow your instructions without fail." Li Xiao and Liqiao exchanged a compassionate glance and turned to Xiao Xian simultaneously. Xiao Xian, somewhat torn between amusement and empathy, nodded and said, "In that case, I will arrange for someone to locate your aunt and uncle. Stay here for now. Liqiao, take her for a bath, wash her hair, change her clothes, and fetch her some food and drinks from the kitchen. Then have her measured for new clothes, shoes, and socks." She turned to Mian Mian with a warm smile and added, Afterward, have a meal and rest. Don't worry, he'll take care of everything. Qiao placed a reassuring hand on Miamian's shoulder and smiled. Exactly. Madam has given her word, so you can relax and fear nothing. Miamian's eyes welled up with gratitude. She glanced at them, nodded, and followed Qiao obediently. Xia couldn't help but sigh with sympathy. Mian is truly unfortunate. Qiao Wei's overbearing and uncaring demeanor had revealed her true character. She had callously sent Mian away for a mere 30 taels of silver, without considering what might befall the girl on her journey to Qingdi. Xian remarked, since we've crossed paths we should do what we can. Xia smiled warmly. That's because you have a kind heart. If she had encountered someone like Qiao Wei, it would be a triumph if that person didn't seize the opportunity to harm her when she was vulnerable. Xian smiled and promptly instructed someone to find Sun Bai and ask for his assistance. This time the list included several familiar names, among them Sun Bai and Sun Qian. Upon Sun Bai's agreement, Xia privately disclosed to him Ms. Mao's reprehensible actions. Sun Bai then visited Ms. Mao's residence and secured Miamian's contract without any additional expenditure of silver. 200 taels of silver were ample to procure a capable and intelligent maid, and Ms. Mao, although unwilling, didn't dare to object. Mian felt a wave of relief as she laid eyes on the contract and promptly kowtowed to express her gratitude to Xian. Xian then escorted her to Princess Xuanfu and informed her of the situation. Princess Xuanfu nodded with a warm smile and concurred, Mian is a fine young lady. It is her good fortune to be under Madame Xiao's care. The ironic twist came when Qiao Wei, who had been infuriated by the events, approached Princess Xuanfu. She claimed that Mian was a perfect match for her and expressed her desire to purchase her as a maid, suggesting that Princess Xuanfu act as a witness. After all, hadn't Xian asserted that Princess Xuanfu was superior to her? With her being the first to express interest, wasn't that enough? Unaware of Ms. Mao's whereabouts, if she had known, she would have personally pursued the purchase. Ms. Mao was notorious for her greed, and turning her down was unlikely. She seethed with anger at not being able to acquire this young girl. Even if she grew weary of ordering her around, she could always sell her. However, Princess Xuanfu responded with a smile, Madame Xiao has already entered into a contract with Miamian's family and has purchased her. Perhaps you weren't aware of this. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1451. Relying Qiao Wei felt a deep sense of embarrassment, her face turning a burning shade of red. Her embarrassment was overwhelming. What sort of extraordinary fortune was favoring Xian? Why did she always lose to her? From that moment forward, Mian became a part of Xian's household. Xia and Qiao, being older than her, took her under their wings and showed her kindness and care. Mian was immensely grateful and remained obedient. Later, Qiao approached Xian with some news. Mian had a friend working as a laborer in the horse market. He was strong, diligent, and hardworking, much like Mian. He was also an orphan. Mian wanted to know if Madame could purchase him as well. She was very straightforward and never mentioned it to me. She would hide away alone and silently wipe her tears. I probed and prodded, and she eventually confessed that she wanted to make the request but felt it was overstepping and didn't dare to voice it, causing her great sorrow. She mentioned that her friend, known as Yi, had previously intervened when a troublemaker was harassing her. Since then, she had been taking care of him and, out of gratitude, secretly brought him food from time to time. As a result, they grew close. She's concerned that she won't be able to see her friend again if she stays with you, and this has left her despondent. After offering some consolation, I believed it was best to inform you about this matter. Xian contemplated for a moment and then smiled. Very well, I'll acquire him as well. Guard son, please revisit and make inquiries. If he's genuinely suitable, well, purchase him too. The number didn't make much of a difference whether it was one or two. What was most crucial was that Xian recognized the need for more reliable personnel. The Yuezhing family and Jianghu had talented individuals, but they were limited in number. She couldn't rely solely on others for everything. If she discovered someone suitable and nurtured them, they would become her right-hand people in the future. Xia concurred and promptly went to find Sun Bai. Since their departure was scheduled for the day after tomorrow, Sun Bai headed to Shima City on the same day. Upon his return in the evening, he brought with him a 17-year-old young man, tall and slender, with pronounced features and a silent demeanor. This was Yi. When Xian and Xiao Yunduan met Yi and introduced him to Mian, His eyes lit up at the mention of her, and the guarded look that had been present gradually dissipated. It wasn't convenient for Qiao Xian to personally accompany Yi, nor was it for Xiao Yunduan. However, Sun Bai offered to have Yi follow him, much to Qiao Xian's surprise. Nonetheless, this was precisely what she had in mind, so she accepted the proposal. Sun Bai Chen led Yi along. If Yi was astute, he would certainly glean valuable knowledge from Sun Bai during their journey. Mian Mian was overwhelmed with gratitude and couldn't help but shed tears again as she thanked Qiao Xian. Qiao Xian found this quite amusing and offered her some comforting words before bidding her farewell. It was evident to anyone with eyes that these two were likely childhood sweethearts. Oh, if it succeeded, she would be thrilled to have played a part in reuniting them. Upon learning of this development, Qiao Wei's anger flared even higher. The day of departure arrived swiftly. In the early morning, officials from Huning City gathered at the relay station and respectfully saw off the princess and the prince of Qingdi. The phoenix carriage slowly exited through the western gate. As Princess Xuanfu gazed at the vast grasslands stretching to the horizon, she fought the urge to look back, her eyes moistening with unshed tears. Their journey proceeded smoothly. However, after a few days of travel, they found themselves departing from the well-trodden paths, causing the pace of their journey to naturally slow down. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1452. Arriving at Qingdi. Luckily, the weather at this time of the year was quite favorable, gradually warming with each passing day. Sprouts of grass covered the land, and in some areas, there were expansive patches of beautiful wildflowers in full bloom. While the people from Great Qin found this breathtakingly beautiful, on their journey, even though they had to set up tents every night, and their accommodations were simple and austere, and their meals were modest, they found it to be an unforgettable experience. They had no regrets as long as they remained safe. The princess' marriage was a significant event, and their journey to Qingdi was expected to be very safe. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were well aware of this. They didn't believe that even the fourth prince would be foolish enough to attempt anything illicit during the trip there, but the journey back held more uncertainty. By the time they reached Qingdi, it was already the 12th of June. Qingdi's city walls appeared rugged and unrefined. The mud walls, eroded by the elements, had taken on a mottled appearance and were showing signs of deterioration. The city walls were not particularly tall, embodying a casual and unconcerned air. Qingdi was known for its bravery and martial prowess. They had constructed the imperial city with convenience in mind rather than defense. In the event of an enemy invasion, they believed it was more advantageous to engage in open combat than to defend the city. The arrival of Princess Xuanfu brought a momentary liveliness to the royal city. Countless commoners crowded along the streets to catch a glimpse of the spectacle. Engaging in animated discussions in a language incomprehensible to outsiders, people pointed and stared in curiosity at the Qin prince's conveyance. The people of Qingdi lacked rigid rules and protocols. The scene was chaotic and uproarious. Onlookers nearly blocked the road, and they seemed on the verge of swarming the Princess Phoenix carriage, creating considerable difficulty for the procession's progress. Prince Nua didn't seem to find this situation unusual. In fact, he appeared rather pleased with the commotion, laughing heartily, his smile never fading from his face. Unbeknownst to him, within the carriage, Princess Xuanfu had already turned pale from fear and unease. She was struggling to contain her anxiety, fearful that Prince Nua might insist on lifting the curtain for all to see. This was utterly beyond her comprehension. Were these commoners really this impolite? Was Qingdi so uncouth? Having grown up in the palace with strict rules and etiquette, she had never encountered such a situation before. Qiao Xian gently held her hand and explained with a warm smile, "Princess, they mean no harm. They're merely curious and eager to catch a glimpse of you in the empire, which is why they're so enthusiastic. Princess, you're familiar with the principle of when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Please don't take it to heart." Princess Xuanfu's complexion had paled and she forced a smile, replying in a hushed tone, "I understand, Madame Xiao." Yet, understanding was one thing, putting it into practice was quite another. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. It was a straightforward saying, but adhering to it wasn't always easy. Taking a deep breath, Princess Xuanfu recognized that no matter how challenging it might be, she had no choice but to adapt to the local customs. They entered the imperial city around noon, arriving at the palace nearly by nightfall. Xiao Yunduan had also been accommodated in the palace by the Qingdi princes and ministers, who provided temporary lodgings for them. The Qingdi royal family warmly welcomed Princess Xuanfu and the others. That evening they held a grand bonfire celebration. The participants sang and danced, and after slaughtering cattle and sheep, they skewered large portions of meat over the fire to roast. In addition, large cuts of meat were thrown into a massive pot, almost 2 meters wide and roughly stewed. The meat was then ladled onto a large platter, and people served themselves using their hands, dipping the meat into a powdery seasoning mixture. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1453. Impact. Princess Xuanfu's finely embroidered palace dress was clearly unsuitable, and she had already changed into the attire of the Qingdi nobility. Accompanied by Qiao Xian and Auntie Si, she engaged in conversations with the noble ladies of Qingdi. Even though Qingdi had arranged for servants who could speak the Great Qin language to assist them, communication between the two sides remained somewhat challenging. Thankfully, the ambience at the gathering was genuinely festive. Communication difficulties mattered less when the atmosphere was lively and joyous. Throughout the night, Princess Xuanfu appeared awkward and reserved. Qiao Wei, too, was a bit intimidated by the exuberance of the Qingdi people. However, Qiao Xian stood out from the rest. Having come from the modern world, she had no qualms about mingling with people of the opposite sex. It was common for men and women to socialize on the beach during the summer in her world. While Qingdi's enthusiasm might be overwhelming to others, it meant nothing to Qiao Xian. With Qiao Xian's presence, she provided Princess Xuanfu with comfort and guidance, helping her navigate the situation. In the end, they made it through the night. Once she returned to her lodgings, Princess Xuanfu struggled to keep her composure, her knees threatening to give way as she almost tumbled to the floor. The shock she had experienced that evening had overturned her understanding of the world and shattered her previous upbringing. Upon seeing her ashen face, Qiao Xian didn't linger. She offered consoling words and took her leave. The moment Qiao Xian departed, Princess Xuanfu seemed to lose all her strength, collapsing onto the bed in tears. She sobbed uncontrollably. Auntie Si's heart ached. Her own worldview had been shattered, so she empathized with the princess' distress. She sent everyone else away, instructing Bai Yun and the others to stand guard outside and report any visitors promptly. She settled beside Princess Xuanfu and tenderly stroked her trembling shoulders, offering solace and support. After a while, Princess Xuanfu's tears gradually subsided. She sat up, her eyes swollen from crying, and choked out, "Aunt, from now on, we'll have to endure together in the future." Auntie Si's heart ached, but simultaneously she felt a sense of gratification. She was relieved that Princess Xuanfu had not rejected her. "Princess, you will certainly be all right. We will undoubtedly be fine." Princess Xuanfu responded with a soft hum, and tears welled up in her eyes once more. Auntie Si managed to smile and commented, "I've noticed that Qingdi's capital is so lively and vast. It's different from what I had imagined. It's much better." Princess Xuanfu gave a slight nod, feeling a touch of relief. If she could live here peacefully in the future, perhaps it wouldn't be so unbearable. The lively festivities in Qingdi continued for several days before coming to an end. In collaboration with Xiao Yunduan, the marriage envoy, the date for Princess Xuanfu's wedding to Prince Nuanua was set half a month later. Marital customs in Qingdi were relatively straightforward, and 10 days provided ample time for preparations. Xiao Yunduan found himself once again occupied with various tasks. Qiao Xian also became busy. Xiao Yunduan often sought the princess' input on many matters, and usually, it was Qiao Xian who relayed the messages. If the princess had any requests, Xiao Yunduan would communicate them to Qingdi after Qiao Xian passed them along. On the day of Princess Xuanfu's wedding, the weather was exceptionally fine. The sky was a brilliant, clear blue, with the bright sunlight casting a radiant glow like a colossal sapphire. The earth was lush and green with wildflowers in full bloom, creating a picturesque scene. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1454. Date of return in Qingdi, cattle and sheep were slaughtered, creating a vibrant and lively atmosphere. Later in the evening, another grand bonfire celebration was planned. Princess Xuanfu, now the bride, would be dressed in the splendid attire of a Qingdi concubine, standing alongside Prince Nuanua to receive the blessings of the guests and partake in the festivities. Princess Xuanfu had grown accustomed to this entirely distinct tradition, though it still felt somewhat foreign. Nevertheless, she managed to handle it with success. Qiao Xian instructed Bai Yun and the others to inform the Qingdi locals that Princess Xuanfu was shy. Understanding her intention, The Qingdi people responded with kind smiles and became more considerate toward the princess. After Princess Xuanfu's wedding, the members of the Great Qin diplomatic mission couldn't stay any longer. With the initial excitement wearing off, they found themselves yearning for the lively atmosphere of the capital. The environment in Qingdi was somewhat unfamiliar, and the local cuisine, though acceptable, didn't compare to the delectable dishes served in the capital's restaurants. Xiao Yunduan made a request to Qingdi. Prince Nuanua was deeply reluctant and expressed his desire for Xiao Yunduan to stay in Qingdi. I wish Lord Xiao could stay in Qingdi. I want to continue learning from you. I can't understand what others are saying, and it makes me sleepy to listen to them. Only you can make me understand. Xiao Yunduan was at a loss for words. He thought to himself, I didn't discuss Great Qin culture with you such as the 4 books and 5 classics. I only shared historical anecdotes and tales of famous figures. Of course you understand. If he couldn't grasp it, there must be something amiss with his intellect. Prince, all good things must come to an end. Additionally, I have other responsibilities that prevent me from staying away for too long. Please understand. If you ever have the opportunity in the future, I welcome you to visit Great Qin again. When that time comes, I will extend my hospitality to you. Prince Nuanua burst into laughter and patted Xiao Yunduan on the shoulder. All right. I'll definitely return when I have some free time. Just wait for me. I'll make sure to improve my alcohol tolerance. Then I'll be able to challenge you properly. Xiao Yunduan smiled and replied, I eagerly await your instruction. Very well, just you wait. Prince Nuanua chuckled heartily. The date set for sending the diplomatic mission back to Great Qin was scheduled for 5 days later. This news filled everyone with joy, and the entire diplomatic mission exuded a happy and relaxed atmosphere. Prince Nuanua extended an invitation to Xiao Yunduan and the others to join him in a hunting expedition. Xiao Yunduan wasn't particularly interested in hunting, but Xianxia was excited about the prospect. I was thinking it would be great if we could hunt here. Hunting in this environment will be a unique experience. Xiao Yunduan agreed, you're right. Let's give it a try then. On the appointed day, Prince Nuanua, accompanied by Princess Xuanfu and others, led a large group of riders on a grand hunting expedition. Auntie Si Biyun and the others were unfamiliar with horseback riding and opted not to join Princess Xuanfu's group. Instead, 2 robust women with sturdy builds served as attendants to the princess. It was evident that they possessed considerable strength. Princess Xuanfu had only recently learned to ride a horse, and she still felt somewhat awkward in the saddle. She was delighted to see Xianxia, and as they rode side by side, they engaged in conversation. However, their slower pace couldn't go unnoticed. Prince Nuanua frequently glanced back, displaying a hint of concern. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1455. Slow down. After their marriage, Prince Nuanua treated Princess Xuanfu with exceptional care and consideration. However, it was quite a challenge for a bold and rugged prince of Qingdi to adapt to such refined behavior. Seeing this, Xianxia smiled at Xiao Yunduan and suggested, Husband, why don't you two go ahead? I will take my time with the princess and engage in a pleasant conversation. Princess Xuanfu eagerly added, Yes, please proceed without us. She was still getting used to riding a horse gracefully, and sitting for an extended period left her back and legs stiff and uncomfortable. Catching up with Prince Nuanua and the others seemed like an insurmountable task, even if her life depended on it. Furthermore, the diplomatic group would be departing in a few days, separating her from Xianxia, making this precious opportunity to be together all the more valuable. Prince Nuanua had been eager for some action, so upon hearing this, he readily agreed, Very well, take your time. Lord Xiao, let's embark on a wolf hunting expedition. With any luck, we might even come across a herd of wild horses. The prospect of encountering the elusive wild horses was met with enthusiastic cheers from Qingdi and his companions. These horses were the most enigmatic inhabitants of the grasslands, known for their elusive nature and speed. Taming them and making them mounts was a feat that would earn them the admiration of all. The wild horses possessed an incredible sense of pride and spirit. They would rather face death than submit if they felt unwilling to be tamed. Some even attempted to capture a wild horse, only to witness it defiantly resist and starve itself to death. Xiao Yunduan wasn't particularly interested in hunting wolves or wild horses. He would have preferred to stay and converse with his wife. Unfortunately, the circumstances didn't allow for it. With no other option, Xiao Yunduan responded graciously. He glanced at Xianxia and smiled warmly, saying, Enjoy your time with the princess. Well, go ahead. Qiao Xian reciprocated the smile, and the two parties went their separate ways. Prince Nua spurred everyone to hasten their departure, his horse at the forefront, whip held high in anticipation. As the group rode off with their whips raised, Princess Xuanfu observed the scene with a soft sigh. Walking alongside her, Qiao Xian shared a light-hearted chuckle. The prince is refreshingly candid. His straightforwardness is quite reassuring. Princess Xuanfu's demeanor relaxed, and a faint smile graced her delicate features. She gently nodded and responded, "You're absolutely right." Deep down, who hadn't harbored secret fantasies about their future spouse? Who didn't hope for a partner who was handsome, youthful, promising, cultured, and considerate? When reality diverged from these ideal expectations, it could lead to disappointment and regret. Qiao Xian's words brought her a sense of relief. While he might not be meticulous or overly considerate, there was a certain charm in Prince Nua's straightforward nature. At the very least, there were no hidden motives or complex emotions to decipher. Having distanced themselves from the main group, the two of them strolled leisurely, engaging in conversations about family matters and avoiding any discussion of their impending separation. Occasionally, Qiao Xian would express that he was feeling fatigued and desired a brief respite, or he would suggest that the scenery was worth savoring. Princess Xuanfu appreciated his consideration, understanding that horseback riding wasn't a task suited for women. She couldn't fathom why the Qingdi people held such an affinity for horses, even proudly proclaiming that their children could ride horses by the age of 3. What was there to boast about in such a skill? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1456. Leisureness. The discomfort and pain were almost unbearable. But unlike Bai Yun and the others who could find excuses to avoid such hardships, she had no such luxury. She needed to embrace all of it with a cheerful disposition, as it was the only way to endear herself to the Qingdi people and ensure a more comfortable future. No matter how excruciating it became, she had to grit her teeth and persevere. As the emissary's wife, Qiao Xian held a special place of importance, with Prince Nua's high regard and the king's benevolence. Hence, her treatment under Madame Xiao was undoubtedly favorable. When she claimed to be fatigued and requested a break, both Qingdi and the servants as well as the guards had to comply. Even though everyone shared a laugh about how delicate the emissary's wife appeared, necessitating rest for a journey so brief, it seemed she fared worse than a Qingdi 3-year-old child. Thankfully, the Princess of Qin did not exhibit such tendencies. Throughout the journey, they alternated between walking and pausing, traversing a seemingly boundless emerald grassland that stretched as far as the eye could see. Occasionally, they passed vibrant expanses of wildflowers that bloomed extravagantly. Occasionally, eagles soared through the expansive blue sky, and now and then they observed foxes, marmots, wild cats, grassland rats, wild rabbits, and other creatures darting amidst the grass. Low-flying birds added to the picturesque spectacle, creating a delightful tapestry of life on the lively grassland. Qiao Xian couldn't help but feel that rushing through such breathtaking landscapes was a missed opportunity. They should have taken the time to savor the scenery. Her only regret was the absence of her husband by her side, though she looked forward to their extended time together on the return journey. During their travels they encountered a stunning lake. The azure waters of the lake were so captivating that it left them in awe. The lake's reeds swayed gracefully, and the melodic calls of waterbirds filled the air. The scene was perfectly picturesque, resembling a painting come to life. Qiao Xian and her companions, who had never witnessed such natural beauty, were left utterly mesmerized. The sun had climbed high in the sky, and noon was fast approaching. Qiao Xian and Princess Xuanfu decided that it would be a good idea to break for lunch and then continue their journey. Naturally, Princess Xuanfu readily agreed with a warm smile. As Qiao Xian gave the lunch order, the Qingdi group exchanged bewildered glances. What kind of delicate constitution was this? She seemed so pampered. She had rested 4 times already along the way, and now she was stopping for lunch before reaching their destination. Though they couldn't voice their concerns, they reluctantly concurred. However, Qiao Xian paid no heed to their reactions. She and Princess Xuanfu were savoring the lakeside scenery, indulging in conversation and laughter. The lake teemed with fish that seemed unafraid of humans. They swam in large, unhurried groups, tempting anyone to take a dip and catch them. Given that Qingdi didn't consume fish, Qiao Xian was content to watch from the bank. Her entourage swiftly got to work, digging holes, starting fires, and heating water with practiced efficiency. Some of the guards ventured out for a hunt, returning shortly with a few rabbits, marmots and other small game as well as some wild onions and leeks. Before long the aroma of roasted meat filled the air. It was undeniable that they were skilled in these tasks, and the roasted meat was especially succulent and fragrant. Xiao, utilizing her wood element abilities, identified an abundance of herbs in the vicinity, including ephedrine, windproof, sand ginseng and licorice. It left her feeling intrigued. After enjoying the roasted meat, she expressed her desire to take a horse ride and explore the area. Without taking anyone with her, she cheerfully set off. Having left the capital, it was a rare opportunity to venture alone, as she was typically part of the main group. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1457. Wild Horse. Furthermore, it would violate the rules and lead to gossip if people discovered her actions. Ruining Xiao Yunduan's official reputation was not a risk she was willing to take. Hence, Xiao refrained from venturing outside to acquire items. Even during their stay in Huning City, she only ventured out once with Princess Xuanfu, always shadowed by attendants, which made it impossible to gather or deposit items into her space. It was only upon their arrival at Qingdi's capital that the atmosphere relaxed. During their downtime they went shopping with Xiao Yunduan and Leisureness. They procured some valuable items and introduced them to the space. They even brought back some unique local fruit trees, distinct from Great Qing's apples and pears, such as peach branches, which they cultivated within the space. With her current free time, Xiao rode directly to their destination. There she collected and transferred her favorite herbs into the space. She wished she could find some mushrooms as they typically appeared on the grassland after rain, but none were in sight at the moment. When she deemed it time to return, she mounted her horse and rode back. Soon after, the group continued its journey, taking breaks along the way. After about 2 hours they finally rejoined the main group. Over at the main group, activity buzzed with excitement as everyone busily handled their catch. Tents were already erected in a suitable location, signaling that they'd be spending the night here. 3 days ago, Prince Nua dispatched a team to set up traps to lure the wolves, and today's results were bountiful. They had managed to eliminate over 30 grassland wolves, in addition to capturing otters, hares, pheasants and more. The night's feast promised the freshest game. What caught everyone's attention was the discovery of wild horse tracks. The group dispersed to encircle the herd slowly. At a signal, they galloped towards their chosen wild horses, throwing their lassos in a bid to capture them. The subsequent effort to tame these magnificent creatures was a display of intense enthusiasm and excitement that captured the imagination. In the end, after a spirited struggle, all the wild horses managed to break free and escape, leaving none successfully tamed. While the Qingdi people might have felt some disappointment, they didn't harbor significant regret. They understood that this outcome was entirely within the realm of expectations. After all, if wild horses were easily tamed, they wouldn't retain their status as wild horses. What no one noticed was that when the dust had settled and the wild horses had made their gallant departure, there was one person conspicuously absent from the entire hunting team. Later, Ai returned, riding atop a majestic wild horse with gleaming black fur, resembling black satin. This sight left everyone in awe. The people from the Qin dynasty couldn't hide their pride and were beaming with satisfaction as they basked in the admiration and envy of the Qingdi people. From a distance, Prince Nua and his companions gazed longingly at the magnificent black wild horse, which exuded an extraordinary presence with its agile form. They couldn't help but envy Ai's accomplishment. Despite its recent taming, the horse retained its proud disposition. Other than Ai, it paid no heed to anyone else. The Qingdi people were well aware of the wild horse's temperament and maintained a respectful distance. Additionally, no one contemplated asking Ai to buy or trade the horse. They understood that even if Ai were to agree, it wouldn't matter unless the horse itself consented. Taming a wild horse established an unbreakable bond of master and steed that transcended human willpower. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1458. Happy. Perhaps it was because their master had a close connection with someone they favored, allowing them to feel comfortable and receptive to that person's presence. Xiao Yunduan was pleasantly surprised by this turn of events. Throughout their journey, apart from trailing behind Sun Bai, Ai had been at Xiao Yunduan's side, dutifully attending to his needs. His honest nature, minimal words, and earnest approach to tasks made him a dependable and reassuring presence. On one occasion, Qiao Xian had playfully teased Xiao Yunduan, suggesting that Qiao Wei had become so shameless that she had tried to get close to Yi when she discovered that he was brought back due to Miamian's influence. Qiao Wei was supposedly attempting to win him over with her beauty. However, in truth, she hadn't made any efforts to use her charms to sway Yi's favor. In Qiao Xian's view, her willingness to express mild concern for Yi, engage in pleasant conversation, offer him occasional treats, or reward him with a few taels of silver was already a substantial gesture. Yi should have felt flattered and indebted to her. Yet Yi remained completely indifferent to Qiao Wei. He didn't spare her a glance, let alone engage in conversation. Qiao Wei, who had humbled herself, was left seething with frustration. Upon hearing the news, Qiao Xian couldn't contain her glee. Qiao Wei's audacity seemed to be growing with each passing day. How could she be so self-assured? This further solidified Xiao Yunduan's belief that Yi was a worthy candidate for training. Not to mention the glowing praise from Sun Bai, Sun Qian and the group of guards, who were astounded by Yi's innate divine power. Thanks to Sun Bai's tutelage, Yi had gained more control over his celestial abilities and developed increased agility. Yi was both astonished and deeply appreciative of Sun Bai's mentorship. Although Sun Bai hadn't formally taken him on as a disciple, Yi regarded Sun Bai as his master. He understood that his present circumstances were a result of the fortuitous connection with Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. Their kindness had saved both him and Mian Mian, and his unwavering loyalty to them stemmed from the depths of his heart. As a result, whenever Xiao Yunduan assigned him a task, Yi approached it with unwavering dedication and meticulous attention to detail. Xiao Yunduan's satisfaction with Yi continued to grow, and he couldn't help but marvel at his wife's excellent judgment. With a mere thought, she had brought two exceptional subordinates into their fold. No wonder Qiao Wei was consumed with envy and anger. As Yi found himself thrust into the spotlight, Xiao Yunduan reveled in the joy of his accomplishment. Yi had never been the recipient of such passionate attention and adulation, which left him feeling awkward and unsure of how to respond. Yi approached Xiao Yunduan with the black horse and said, "Lord, I'd like to offer this horse to you. Could you please give it a name?" Xiao Yunduan cast a fond gaze at the majestic black horse and chuckled. "You tamed it, so take good care of it. As for naming it, well, leave that to my wife. She always takes a keen interest in such matters." Yi blushed and nodded, a shy smile on his face. When Qiao Xian, Princess Xuangfu and the others finally arrived, the atmosphere had calmed down. Upon hearing Xiao Yunduan's praise for Yi, Qiao Xian glanced at Mian Mian, who wore a bright smile. She remarked with a grin, "Yi possesses natural strength and has experience in the horse market, making him a fitting candidate for success. It's no surprise that he's been so fortunate. I've always known he's no ordinary individual. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1459. Naming. When Xiao Yunduan broached the topic of naming the black horse, Qiao Xian's interest was piqued. She playfully tugged on Xiao Yunduan's sleeve and chuckled, "Well then, what are we waiting for, dear? Take me to see it. Mian Mian, let's go." Mian Mian had riding skills, which had brought her along for the day's excursion. She outshone Lixia and Liqiao, who were now petrified on their horses, overwhelmed with fear. Mian Mian blushed with delight, nodded and followed Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan. Yi's affection and care for the big black horse were evident. The untamed and proud steed didn't readily approach humans, and at the moment, Yi was accompanying it behind a small hillock in the distance. He meticulously stroked and groomed its black, satin-like mane, and the big black horse seemed utterly content, elegantly enjoying the attention and occasionally responding with soft snorts. Qiao Xian's eyes lit up upon seeing the majestic horse. She expressed her admiration. "What a stunning creature, this big black horse. Yi, you've done a marvelous job." Mian Mian, upon hearing this, beamed with even more joy than if she were the one receiving praise. The two exchanged glances, leaving Yi too embarrassed to smile. He explained, "Madam, Lord mentioned that he'd like you to give the big black horse a name." Qiao Xian was elated. She exchanged glances with Xiao Yunduan and said with a smile, "Certainly, you'll need to ponder it thoughtfully. A magnificent horse like this deserves a name that's anything but ordinary." Mian Mian chimed in, "Madam's choice will undoubtedly be splendid." Qiao Xian drew closer to the big black horse, enchanted by its mane that resembled black satin. She couldn't resist running her hand over it. Xiao Yunduan and Yi were taken aback, almost reaching out to stop her. However, Qiao Xian's hand had already made contact. The big black horse glanced at her briefly, calmly swished its tail, and continued to graze, showing no signs of anger or resistance. Xiao Yunduan and Yi were equally astounded. This big black horse had a haughty disposition. It had recently acknowledged its master, and aside from Yi, it had shown no interest in anyone else. Even Prince Nua had nearly been kicked when he attempted to touch it. Xiao Yunduan hesitated to approach, fearing he might meet the same fate as others. However, to his astonishment, as soon as his wife stepped forward, she began to caress the horse. Qiao Xian was unaware of what had transpired, but the horse felt so delightful to the touch that she couldn't resist running her hand over its coat. Qiao Xian grinned, "How obedient and endearing it is." Xiao Yunduan was at a loss for words, while Yi was equally surprised. As Qingdi's horses served as their sole mode of transportation, Qiao Xian habitually carried pine nuts in her purse. A few remained, and with her mounting delight, she took them out and offered them to the horse. The big black horse sniffed her palm and began eating without hesitation. It even swished its tail in delight and nuzzled its head against Qiao Xian, eliciting her laughter. She waved to Xiao Yunduan, calling, "Husband, come over." Why was he standing so far away? Wasn't the big black horse handsome and attractive? Qiao Xian wondered. Xiao Yunduan smiled and nodded as he drew closer. When the big black horse suddenly looked up at him, he paused in his steps. Yet, as the horse continued to eat pine nuts without paying him any mind, he silently breathed a sigh of relief and cautiously joined them. He didn't dare to reach out and touch the horse, instead standing by and observing. It was already a remarkable achievement for them to be in such close proximity. They were faring much better than Prince Nua. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1460. Close. Xiao Xian suggested with a smile, "How about we call it Thunder God? It sounds imposing and mighty." Yi enthusiastically agreed, saying, "Good, good. Hello, Thunder God. Thank you, madam, for the name. From now on, it shall be known as Thunder God." Yi gently patted the big black horse's head and spoke with a grin, Thunder God, from this day forth your name shall be Thunder God. Do you understand?" Their shared laughter filled the air. Looking at Qiao Xian with admiration, Yi commented, "Madam, you're truly incredible. You've managed to approach Thunder God so effortlessly." In I's eyes, taming Thunder God had been an arduous endeavor that involved many falls and considerable effort. Upon hearing this, Qiao Xian inquired with a smile, "What's so challenging about it?" Yi widened his eyes and nodded emphatically. Xiao Yunduan joined in with a smile, recounting Thunder God's haughty nature, which amused both Qiao Xian and Yin. Qiao Xian gently caressed Thunder God's body, sharing an intimate smile as she remarked, "It signifies that Thunder God can discern people and his own kind. His spirit is truly remarkable. Come, Yin, come and greet Thunder God as well." Yi happily waved at Yin and signaled her to join them with a bright smile. Yin blushed and shot him a glare. Qiao Xian pondered that Thunder God's lack of resistance to her approach might be attributed to her superpower. It wasn't inconceivable for Thunder God to feel a connection to individuals with wood element superpowers. She had an inkling that animals were often more sensitive than humans, which was the most plausible explanation. Qiao Xian couldn't help but wonder why Thunder God, who typically ignored everyone, hadn't resisted her. As for Xiao Yunduan and Yin, it was likely due to Thunder God's relationship with Yi. Thunder God was a highly intelligent horse, and since there were no outsiders present, it felt relaxed and open to negotiation. That evening, everyone camped for the night. They roasted meat and enjoyed wine, creating a lively atmosphere. The grassland was cold at night, so even though she sat by the fire, Qiao Xian wrapped herself in a thin cotton cloak. The night sky was adorned with beautiful stars, resembling a sky filled with sparkling gems. It was so dazzling that it felt like stepping into a wondrous fairyland of stars. Xiao Yunduan managed the group and exchanged a glance with Qiao Xian. He then led her away from the hubbub to a quiet place for a stroll. Xiao Yunduan had a slight fear of Prince Nua. Prince Nua was an incredible drinker, and Xiao Yunduan knew that if he didn't avoid the situation, he'd likely end up being coerced into another drinking contest. Additionally, in the company of his wife, amid the enchanting starlit night, it was far more appealing to be with her. The following morning, the group enjoyed a hearty breakfast and headed back to the capital. They took their time and didn't split up as Qiao Xian needed to rest. She paused for breaks 3 times on the return journey, and they didn't reach the capital until late afternoon. That evening, Princess Xuanfu and Prince Nuanua extended an invitation to Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan for dinner. The diplomatic mission would depart for Great Qin the day after next. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1461. When to make a move. Qiao Wei held the same status as Qiao Xian as she accompanied the princess on her wedding journey. They had gone hunting the previous day, but because she couldn't ride a horse and didn't want to be near Qiao Xian, she decided not to follow them. Upon their return from the hunt, the princess and the prince hosted a banquet. Traditionally, Qiao Wei should have been included, but Princess Xuanfu simply wanted a pleasant meal with Qiao Xian and didn't want Qiao Wei to be a nuisance. Prince Nuanua instructed Andy C to bring 2 dishes as a reward for Qiao Wei. He claimed to understand that she wasn't feeling well and hadn't summoned her. He suggested that she eat well, rest properly, and prepare for the journey on the day after next. Qiao Wei was seething with anger once again. How could she not be feeling well? Such a thing never happened. Qiao Xian must have said something malicious in front of Princess Xuanfu to prevent her from participating. Princess Xuanfu had made her intentions very clear by arranging for the food. It was evident that she didn't want Qiao Wei to join the banquet. Qiao Wei couldn't bear it. If Qiao He hadn't intervened and stopped her, Qiao Wei would have smashed the 2 dishes. When do we make our move on the way back? Oh. Qiao He quickly covered Qiao Wei's mouth, her gaze cold. Miss, you can't speak recklessly. Qiao Wei felt suffocated for a moment. She pushed away Qiao He's hand and sneered. What are you afraid of? Do you think someone will overhear us? We're in such a secluded spot and no one will come near. She and Qiao Xian were constantly at odds, each vying for supremacy. Wherever Qiao Xian was, she couldn't measure up. It was a clash between the east wind and the west wind, with only one prevailing. Qiao Wei was determined to see Qiao Xian trampled underfoot, just as she had been in the past. Qiao He continued to wear a worried expression. Being cautious is not a bad thing. If something goes wrong because of this, it would be disastrous. Qiao Wei sneered but refrained from further comments. At Princess Xuanfu's gathering, the 4 of them enjoyed a cheerful and harmonious atmosphere. It was a perfect setting. While eating, Prince Nuanua's eyes gleamed with the desire to share a drink with Xiao Yunduan. However, Xiao Yunduan was the first to speak. He cleared his throat and spoke solemnly, I want drink with you today or I'll be too hungover to travel. Please forgive me, Your Highness. Princess Xuanfu chimed in with a gentle smile. Yes, Your Highness, it wouldn't be appropriate. Let's save it for another time. Seeing Xiao Yunduan's resolute stance, Prince Nuanua reluctantly agreed. Very well, Lord Xiao. Next time I visit the capital we shall drink together. I'll be looking forward to it. He puffed out his chest and declared, Lord Xiao, just wait. I'll best you next time. Xiao Yunduan could only respond with a wry smile. I'll be waiting. I'll make sure to improve your alcohol tolerance. It's embarrassing to be bested by a scholar. Everyone was left speechless. What was there to compare? The Qingdi people certainly had peculiar priorities. Princess Xuanfu, being a newcomer to Qingdi, felt embarrassed for her husband. She gracefully changed the subject with a smile, initiating a discussion about Qingdi's customs. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were both genuinely interested in this topic and posed questions to Prince Nuanua. The discussion on customs took their attention, and the drinking challenge was forgotten. They spent the evening together until it was quite late. Qiao Xian and Princess Xuanfu engaged in a lengthy conversation. Finally, they exchanged farewells before Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan returned to their own quarters. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1462. Return. Xiao Xian felt a sense of melancholy wash over her. Xiao Yunduan tenderly embraced her and gently patted her back to offer comfort. Princess Xuanfu is already doing quite well. Perhaps leaving the palace is a blessing in disguise for someone as unloved as her. Qiao Xian began to feel a glimmer of relief and managed to force a smile. You might be right. Prince Nuanua seems to treat her well, but she's come to a distant land for marriage. We can't be certain when we'll meet again, so she will undoubtedly feel a bit sad. Xiao Yunduan replied, perhaps only for a while. Qiao Xian burst into laughter, a warmth spreading through her heart. The following day, as everyone prepared for their departure, Qiao Xian, Qiao Wei, and the others went to bid farewell to Princess Xuanfu. Since they had already conveyed their goodbyes the previous day, they didn't avoid Qiao Wei today. Yet, Qiao Wei couldn't hide her dissatisfaction. Despite the knowledge that she and Xiao Xian were not on good terms and that Xiao Xian was the favored wife of Lord Xiao, the crown prince's favorite, while she was just the daughter of the county magistrate, she still couldn't help feeling envious. If she had to choose between the two, Princess Xuanfu would undoubtedly favor Xiao Xian. This feeling of being powerless and easily bullied weighed heavily on her. Qiao Wei's irritation was palpable, and she cast hostile glances at Xiao Xian from time to time. Xiao Xian, however, wasn't in the mood to engage with her. Qiao Wei, feeling ignored, grew even more infuriated. Princess Xuanfu, unable to bear the tension, decided to escort her away. Qiao Wei nearly lost her temper, but she didn't dare to, yet Xiao Xian had her share of blame in this situation, and she longed to return home to make Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan taste the bitterness of her wrath. That night, Qingdi organized a grand bonfire party to bid them farewell. Knowing they had an early departure the next morning, Xiao Yunduan kept the festivities subdued. The following morning, Prince Nua led his men in escorting everyone out of the capital. Princess Xuanfu did not make another appearance. After bidding their farewells just outside the city, the group officially embarked on their journey. Xiao Xian gazed up at the clear blue sky, the wind and sun on her face. She sighed and silently bestowed her blessings upon Princess Xuanfu. The path homeward held a promise of joy. As they began their journey, the initial sadness of parting dissipated, and excitement filled their hearts. It's finally time to head home. That's right. I've missed home so much. I've even dreamt about Beijing a few times. Me too. We can pick up the pace on the way back and aim to reach home as quickly as possible. Yes. The group was in high spirits, covering nearly 200 miles before setting up camp for the night. During the evening, Xiao Yunduan gathered Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Yi Mian, and Li Xia alongside Xiao Xian. He spoke with a serious tone, "With Princess and Prince Nua no longer with us, I have my suspicions. I believe there may be some ill-intentioned individuals within our group. Besides all of you, I'm not certain whom I can trust. In such an environment, any mischief could lead to catastrophe. Please remain vigilant and attentive. If you notice anything amiss, report it immediately. There can be no delays. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1463. Discussion. Yi and Mian displayed evident surprise. Sun Bai and Sun Qian grasped the implications behind Xiao Yunduan's words and shared an unspoken understanding. The fourth prince and the Tian family held deep animosity towards Lord Xiao, particularly the fourth prince, who harbored a vehement hatred for Lord Xiao. The Tian family also bore a profound grudge against Madame Xiao. While it wasn't a propitious time to settle scores with Lord Xiao in the intermediary capital, this moment presented a unique opportunity. Any mishap involving Lord Xiao would be something they couldn't easily explain or justify. Moreover, Sun Bai and Sun Qian were fiercely loyal to the crown prince. They recognized that any harm befalling Lord Xiao would be akin to severing one of the crown prince's limbs, which was simply unacceptable. Furthermore, they had accompanied Xiao Yunduan on numerous occasions, deepening their respect and admiration for him. Their camaraderie and trust were substantial, and they were loath to witness any harm come to him. "Rest assured, Your Excellency. I'll exercise utmost caution. The individuals I brought from the East Palace are all reliable. I'll instruct them to maintain diligent patrols and shift rotations during the night. I'll make certain not to overlook anything." Xiao Yunduan nodded. "However, don't divulge all the details to them." "Understood." Xiao Yunduan turned his attention to Yi. "Yi, you shall be in the service of Madame from now on. Take good care of her." Xiao Xian interjected, "Let us stay with you. As long as you are safe, I won't face any danger." Xiao Yunduan chuckled. "I'm concerned." Sun Qian added, "Madam, I will accompany you. You needn't worry. Yi possesses extraordinary strength and has mastered his skills well. With him guarding you, you can rest assured." Xiao Xian contemplated for a moment. She had Li Xia, Li Qiao, and Mian with her, which would allow her to look after them. As for herself, there was genuinely no reason for concern. In the unlikely event that something did occur, she would rather have no one by her side. Walking through this vast grassland, they were like pre-prepared ropes. If one needed to tie up a dumpling, a group could tie up a bunch of dumplings. There was no pressure at all. After their discussion, the group dispersed. Turning to Xiao Yunduan, Xiao Xian reassured him, "Don't worry, dear husband. We'll have a safe journey. I've consulted with a fortune teller, and the master assured us that we are both blessed individuals. This journey won't bring us harm. Xiao Yunduan burst into laughter and refrained from arguing with her, simply nodding. My wife is absolutely correct. You can rest easy. As long as I'm with you, I'll protect you. He squinted as if he were about to say something else, but then he decided against it. However, he later sought out Yi in private and instructed him earnestly, if a genuine threat arises, remember not to hesitate. Take Madame and Mian and escape using the Thunder God. Run as far as you can. Then find a way back to Huning City, understand? Yi hesitated briefly. But sir, just follow my orders. Don't concern yourself with anything else. Understood, officer. Xiao Yunduan may not have cared much for Mian, but he understood that Yi wouldn't leave her behind, so he instructed him to take her along. When it came down to a critical moment, they couldn't afford to worry about anything else. Luck would be their greatest ally. On a separate note, Xiao Xian also approached Yi privately. In case of any emergency, take Mian to Lord Xiao and use the Thunder God to escape. You can inquire and find your way back to Huning City. With the Thunder God, you won't have to fear anyone catching up with you. Yi was dumbfounded and did not come back to his senses for a long time. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1464. Dilemma. Xiao Xian smiled. I'm just a woman. What's the worst that can happen if I find myself in danger or in someone's custody? As long as Lord Xiao is by my side, nobody would dare harm me. But if anything were to happen to him, that would be the real problem. More importantly, she held great confidence in her own abilities. Whoever dared to capture her would find themselves regretting their choice. Her primary focus was on safeguarding Lixia and Liqiao. That was the most she could do. Xiao Yunduan found her reasoning sound and hesitated for a moment, scratching his head. Well, all right, madam. Yi pondered the situation and was unsure how to proceed. Therefore he sought Mian's advice. Upon hearing his dilemma, Mian couldn't help but sigh, saying enviously, the bond between Lord and Madam is truly exceptional. Yi was perplexed. He had come to her for guidance, so why was she making these remarks out of the blue? So what should I do then? Yi scratched his head. Mian glanced at the Thunder God, torn. Why don't you take Madam and Lord with you? There was no doubt about the speed and allure of the Thunder God. No one questioned its ability to make a swift getaway. If the Thunder God couldn't escape, there was no need to contemplate whether it could escape or not. Yi wore a bitter smile. I wish to do that too, but am concerned that the Thunder God can't accommodate 4 people. Oh, I mean the 3 of you can depart and I'll stay. I need to assist Lord Sun and the others. Mian retorted, what are you talking about? The Thunder God listens to you more than anyone else. If you don't leave, can the Thunder God leave? Take Madam and Lord with you and I'll figure out a hiding place for myself. No way. Why not? At most you can return and find me later. I'm just a young girl. Who would even notice me? No. I care. Mian blushed and glared at him, feeling a bit shy. Regardless, I don't want to hear any excuses. Nothing can happen to Lord and Madam. If you're nearby and care about me, then listen to what I say. No. No one will pay attention to me. No one will care if I hide. I won't be in any danger. Do you think I'm so foolish that I can't even hide? No, but it's a deal. No buts. Yi couldn't persuade her, and his words couldn't match her eloquence. He felt unconvinced and a bit unhappy, but he couldn't say much in response. He could only sulkily relent. Mian assured him that she could hide, but could she truly remain concealed? Yi knew that Mian was a clever and resourceful girl, but she was still a young lady, and what if she were discovered and harmed amid the ensuing chaos? Then what would he do? In this world, Mian was his sole friend, and deep in his heart, he had long considered her family, a bond of mutual reliance. He couldn't bear to contemplate what he would do if he lost Mian. Yi's mood sank and he struggled with inner conflict, which became evident in his demeanor. He appeared somewhat downcast and preoccupied. Xiao Yunduan soon discerned Yi's troubled state and inquired about it. Though Yi initially intended to keep it a secret, he couldn't withstand Xiao Yunduan's gentle prodding and eventually divulged his concerns with only a few sentences. Xiao Yunduan chuckled. He sighed inwardly, experiencing a mix of emotions, both a sense of fondness and a hint of bittersweetness. His wife was truly something. How could she respond to Yi like that? As her husband, he should be the one protecting her, not the other way around. They'll speak with Madam and handle it. You don't need to worry. Just follow my directions. What? Don't fret. I have a plan of my own. Yes, Lord. Ai decided that it was best not to dwell on it too much. After all, no matter how much he contemplated, he couldn't make sense of it. He might as well simply heed Xiao Yunduan's instructions. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1465. Deliberately causing trouble in the blink of an eye. More than 10 days had swiftly passed. Over the past 10 days, Xiao Yunduan, Qiao Xian, Sun Bai, and Sun Qian remained vigilant, yet they could not detect anything amiss. However, Xiao Yunduan's occasional reminders ensured that nobody let their guard down. Qiao Xian, in particular, frequently employed her extraordinary abilities to survey their surroundings. She did so before their morning departures, during the midday breaks, while setting up camp in the evening in the dead of night, and during the early morning hours. Yet, her scrutiny revealed nothing out of the ordinary. The vegetation had thrived and teemed with vitality during this time. It was when her superpower was at its peak, pulsating with energy. The expansion of the farmland within her space, which had been stagnant during the winter, was now progressing rapidly. Their total land had increased to about 3,000 mues, and by winter, it was estimated to reach 4,000 mues. 4,000 mues of land provided an ample canvas for cultivation. With the reduced maturation period and significantly enhanced yields, the results were nothing short of astonishing. Qiao Xian harbored no doubt that Qiao Wei and Qiao He, who didn't resemble mere maids, had joined the wedding party with more than simple well-wishing intentions. Qiao Wei's deep-seated resentment toward her made it clear that vengeance was the driving force behind her presence. Each encounter with her stoked this enmity, making every moment unbearable. Recognizing her own fiery and impulsive nature, Qiao Xian intentionally sought out Qiao Wei and provoked her in an attempt to elicit a revealing response. Along the way, Qiao Xian persistently pursued Qiao Wei, who in turn evaded her advances. Though visibly irritated and contorted with frustration, Qiao Wei managed to restrain herself, resisting the urge to lash out in anger. Qiao Xian couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Around noon, Qiao Xian spotted Qiao Wei and Qiao He near a nearby stream, where they were washing their hands and refreshing their faces. With a smile on her face, Qiao Xian rounded the corner, accompanied by Li Xia, Li Qiao, and Yan Yan. Gently pushing Qiao Wei, Qiao Xian took her by surprise. Startled, Qiao Wei let out a scream and lurched forward. Although Qiao He managed to pull her back in time, she still ended up stepping into the shallow water, soaking half of her intricately embroidered shoe. The corner of her skirt also got wet. Qiao Xian, what do you think you're doing? Qiao Wei's anger flared. Qiao Xian responded with a calm smile, my apologies, my hand slipped. Ha, you did that on purpose. No, Qiao Xian replied with a helpless smile, if I had done it intentionally, I wouldn't have used such little force to push you into the river. Why would I do that? You. Qiao Wei gritted her teeth, convinced that Qiao Xian was deliberately taunting her. But it was too embarrassing to voice her suspicion, so she kept silent. What's the matter with you? Qiao Xian gave her a disdainful look, as if she couldn't be bothered by Qiao Wei's inner turmoil. She taunted, you have a twisted mind, thinking everyone is as devious and suspicious as you are. This is your specialty. Qiao Wei's face darkened and her breathing quickened. You're just a pretender, aren't you? Qiao Xian sneered. A two-faced hypocrite. Gritting her teeth, Qiao Wei warned, just you wait. We'll see. You, miss, let me assist you in returning to change your shoes, Qiao He offered, firmly grasping Qiao Wei's arm. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1466. Can't take it anymore. Qiao Wei fixed a piercing glare on Qiao Xian and sneered, continue being arrogant. I'd like to see how long your arrogance lasts. You're quite familiar with those words, aren't you? Maybe you should reflect on them yourself. Miss, let's depart. Qiao He cast a reproachful glance at Qiao Xian before assisting Qiao Wei away. Qiao Xian blinked, her gaze lingering on Qiao He's retreating figure. Meanwhile, Li Xia, Li Qiao, and the others engaged in light-hearted banter. Qiao Xian smiled and remarked, I'll go wash my hands. Enjoy your rest. The three of them agreed and took their leave. Qiao Xian activated her powers to eavesdrop on the conversation between Qiao Wei and Qiao He. This woman is intentionally tormenting me. She's singling me out on purpose. I can't endure it any longer. Tell me, when are we going to strike? How have you been in contact with them? Miss, please be cautious, the walls have ears. Shut up. I can't stand these baseless excuses any longer. Don't underestimate me. Let me remind you, if you provoke me further, don't blame me for breaking our association. Remember that you're nothing more than my servant now. Anger flashed across Qiaohe's face, but she suppressed it. Having witnessed Qiao Xian's relentless bullying and humiliation of Qiao Wei in recent days, Qiaohe couldn't help but sympathize with her. Madame Xiao had crossed the line. Her scolding knew no bounds. She was cunning and hit her targets precisely. It was unbearable for anyone to endure. However, Qiao Wei was a sharp-tongued woman with a fiery temper. She had a knack for hurling harsh words and stomping her feet in frustration. If Qiaohe hadn't offered comfort behind her back, she might have exploded. But even then it was hard to watch. Seeing Qiaohe's continued silence, Qiao Wei grew even more furious. She pounded the carriage seat and demanded, "Speak up already. What are you waiting for?" Qiaohe felt irritated, but she understood that Qiao Wei wouldn't relent until she received some answers. She couldn't help but feel frustrated with Qiao Xian as well. But who could she blame? Given Qiao Wei's temperament, when Qiao Xian was still just a girl in the Qiao family, she was a lowly daughter of a concubine with no one to rely on. It would have been unusual if Qiao Wei hadn't mistreated her. Now that their positions had almost reversed and revenge was in the air, what could she do? So, she decided to play it cool and nonchalantly, casually and indifferently deceive her. After all, this dim-witted woman was clueless about what lay ahead. "If you insist, I'll tell you," Qiaohe whispered. "But remember, you mustn't reveal this to anyone. No matter what Madame Xiao does, you must endure it. In 3 days there will be individuals lying in wait within the Black Tiger Forest." Black Tiger Forest? What kind of place is that? Qiao Wei had no recollection of it. Reluctantly, Qiaohe had to offer an explanation. "It's a forest that has grown for countless years, stretching hundreds of miles. We'll need to cross it when we return to Huning City, a total distance of around 30 miles. It's filled with ancient towering trees, creeping vines and dim lighting, a perfect location for an ambush." 3 days from now, you say? Yes. Fine, then I'll endure that woman for 3 more days. Inform them that when the time comes, let that woman live. I've had a change of heart. I want her to wish she were dead. This was followed by a string of venomous curses. Qiao Xian withdrew her powers. Black Tiger Forest? In reality, her husband Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the others had already discussed it. They were well aware that the Black Tiger Forest was a perilous spot for ambushes and had long prepared accordingly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1467. Why did you let her in? The reason for their preparedness was that the road they were traveling on was relatively flat and not conducive to ambushes. With a little extra vigilance, it would be nearly impossible for any potential assailants to succeed. Their diplomatic mission was substantial, consisting of a considerable number of individuals. Among the 300 participants, 200 were guards. The Crown Prince had meticulously selected 30 of them. These individuals discreetly concealed their true roles within the group, but their sole purpose was to protect Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian. Given the vulnerability of the Black Tiger Forest as an ambush site, they had long planned to be on high alert. If the 30 expert guards couldn't safeguard Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian, they would need to call upon a military response. Qiao Xian couldn't help but feel regretful that she had missed this crucial information. It was evident that Qiao Wei was merely a pawn. Those conspiring against her and her husband clearly didn't take her seriously at all. She was completely ignorant, even more so than Qiaohe. Qiaohe, on the other hand, was no ordinary maid. She refused to disclose numerous details to Qiao Wei. However, they had placed someone like Qiaohe in close proximity to Xiao Yunduan and herself, anticipating their suspicion. In essence, Qiaohe was just a minor character. Even if they were to interrogate her, it would likely only serve to alert the enemy without yielding valuable information. Additionally, both Qiaohe and Qiao Wei had officially entered the wedding escort team. Their names were officially documented. Without concrete evidence, it would be against protocol to apprehend them. Doing so could tarnish Xiao Yunduan's reputation as an overbearing and authoritarian figure when he returned to the capital. This was the primary reason why they hadn't taken any action against Qiao Wei. Although the news was better than nothing, Qiao Xian still decided to inform Xiao Yunduan about the situation in the Black Tiger Forest. Xiao Yunduan smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, Sun Bai and Sun Qian will handle everything." Qiao Xian wore a thoughtful smile and continued, "Husband, Do you think someone placed Qiao Wei in our team just to irritate me? There must be a motive, right? But what could someone like Qiao Wei possibly do for others? I can't fathom any purpose for her presence. Qiao Wei didn't possess even a fraction of the knowledge that Qiao He did, yet the latter was appointed as her maid. From the bits of information she had overheard, Qiao Wei hadn't taken any actions or even relayed information to anyone. So what role could she possibly play in this team? Why had she been included? Xiao Yunduan also began to mull over the matter. What you're saying does raise questions. Upon closer consideration, it did indeed seem peculiar. The fourth prince and the Tian family wouldn't have introduced someone into their ranks just to incite disgust. Qiao Wei was nowhere near Qiao Xian's league, so she lacked the qualifications to be a source of irritation. They won't be useless. Qiao Wei must serve a purpose within this team. The two of them engaged in a thorough discussion but couldn't arrive at any definitive conclusions. They exchanged knowing smiles before Xiao Yunduan spoke again. Let it go, he suggested. Take your time to think it through. I have personnel monitoring them. Whatever their intentions, they will be exposed eventually. Let's rest for now. Unable to devise a better plan, Xiao Xian nodded and relinquished her thoughts. She embraced Xiao Yunduan and drifted off to sleep. In the distance, a dense forest emerged. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1468. Going through the Black Tiger Forest, the verdant trees sprouted from the earth and merged into an endless forest. After half a day of travel, when they were still 5 or 6 miles from the Black Tiger Forest, everyone gazed up and could already discern the dark forest looming ahead. In Xiao Xian's keen eyes, the view was crystal clear. The massive ancient tree stood incomparably tall and was as black as a mountain, exuding an intensely ominous aura. The ambient temperature appeared to have instinctively dropped by a few degrees. This was the Black Tiger Forest, the sole route back to the Great Qin Empire. To traverse it, one needed to cross dozens of kilometers. Although it was only 3 o'clock in the afternoon, no instructions were necessary. Everyone had already halted very deliberately. They had no intention of entering the forest today. They would camp on the outskirts for the night and depart early the next morning. There was no need to push through the Black Tiger Forest in a single stretch. In such an environment, with its complexity and limited visibility, and set within a wilderness that stretched for hundreds of miles, they couldn't predict what dangers might lie ahead. Leaving aside the marauding bandits and thieves on the grasslands, encountering a formidable group of wild beasts could be equally deadly. That night, Qiao Xian, Xiao Yunduan, Sun Bai, and Sun Qian had a restless night. This was an ideal place for an ambush. If the fourth prince and his associates had indeed dispatched operatives, they wouldn't have overlooked this prime opportunity. The next day, the group arose at the crack of dawn. They swiftly prepared a simple meal and packed their tents. These were deftly loaded onto the carriages, and they set out before the sun's ascent. Sun Bai and Sun Qian dispatched 5 scouts to reconnoiter the path. Leading the way was a squad of 50 guards. Over 100 individuals divided into groups to bring up the rear, while the rest of the guards followed the rest of the party. No matter what happens, do not disembark from the wagons unless Yi is present. Remember my words. Xiao Yunduan grasped Xiao Xian's hands and reiterated his warning before they departed. Xiao Xian smiled and nodded obediently. As for whether she would follow his instructions, that would depend on the circumstances. This part of the forest proved exceedingly challenging to traverse, as it saw very few visitors on ordinary days. Even the caravans traveling between Great Qin and Qingdi made only 1 or 2 trips during the period from mid-spring to late summer. Consequently, the rampant vegetation and creeping vines had grown at an accelerated pace. Given the absence of passers-by for an extended period, the path that had been somewhat discernible was now engulfed by the overgrowth. They had numerous carriages in their convoy, and aside from Xiao Xian and her companions, most of them carried an assortment of supplies. Moreover, their journey to Qingdi wasn't a simple one. They needed to bring along some local specialties, particularly precious herbs, gemstones, jades, furs, felt carpets, and more. Some of these items had been purchased, while others were gifts from Qingdi to the emperor and tokens for Xiao Yunduan. This explained the presence of 60 carriages in the group. Xiao Yunduan had issued strict instructions, specifying that each person was only allowed to purchase a limited number of items. Otherwise, it was conceivable that the number of carriages would double. After all, the various gemstones like rubies, sapphires, tourmaline, malachite, jade, turquoise, cat's eye jewelry, lapis lazuli, and others were exceptionally affordable in Qingdi. The leather goods were even more reasonably priced. Once these items were transported back to the capital, their value would increase by at least 5 to 10 times. Even Xiao Xian had acquired a considerable number of gemstones, discreetly storing them in her spatial pocket. She had even procured several high-quality diamonds. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1469. Superpower Observation. Not everyone had an easy journey to reach this place, so Xiao Yunduan should not hinder people from making a modest living. However, despite the abundance of resources, the path ahead was far from easy. In many areas they had to clear a path with machetes, slowing down their progress considerably. The silver lining was that most of the terrain was relatively flat. Even with occasional small elevations, carriages could pass through, albeit with some extra effort. Considering all these factors, this relatively short journey would take a full day to complete smoothly. Everyone was experienced and determined to exit the Black Tiger Forest before sunset. By noon, the group took a break to consume their meager rations and have a few sips of water. Everything continued to progress safely and without incident. Xiao Xian activated her superpower to scan the surroundings, and soon she detected a group lying in ambush on a rocky slope about 6 or 7 miles away. Xiao Xian's heart skipped a beat. She estimated there were around 40 to 50 people dressed in dark green attire with their legs bound. They appeared fierce and well prepared. Although they seemed like mountain bandits, their discipline during the ambush was uncanny. No one made a sound and their actions were controlled. These were not the typical unruly mountain bandits. Even if they were not directly affiliated with the Fourth Prince, they had some connection to him. Since she didn't pick up any immediate threats, Xiao Xian retracted her power. Using her superpower for information gathering was her most potent ability, but it drained her quickly. With a potential fight looming, she needed to conserve her energy for the right moment, so she couldn't afford to waste it. The team continued to make their way forward, maintaining a deliberately slow pace dictated by the challenging road conditions that hindered rapid progress. Gradually they reached a rocky slope. The slope was strewn with rugged boulders, and its inclines on both sides were notably steeper than elsewhere. The team planned to traverse the middle path, which extended for about 4 to 5 kilometers. The same wild grass and vines covered the route, forcing them to clear it by removing grass, leaves, vines and obstacles to ensure the carriages could pass through. As they approached the ambush site, approximately 300 meters away, Xiao Xian activated her unique ability. The tree roots at the top of the slope suddenly swelled, pushing out large rocks that broke free from the ground and tumbled down the slope. Simultaneously, she shook the branches and leaves violently, startling the birds resting on them, causing them to take flight in a cacophonous flurry of wings and cries. The sudden commotion naturally alarmed the intermediate team. Sun Bai promptly raised his hand, and the entire group came to an immediate halt. "Stay vigilant, everyone. Form up and shield Lord and Lady," he commanded. Their response was well practiced, having rehearsed many times for potential danger. Though the situation was tense, the guards swiftly established a protective formation from the outset. The remaining followers quickly regained their composure. Carriage drivers worked with a few others to safeguard the horses, gripping the reins securely and covering the animals' ears to prevent them from panicking and bolting. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1470. This unlucky. The rest of the group swiftly huddled together, using the carriages as cover. The guards unsheathed their weapons, forming a disciplined defensive formation. The ambushers, dozens in number, cursed their ill luck. What kind of fortune was this? A successful ambush should have capitalized on catching their prey unawares. But now, due to this series of movements and commotions, even if the other party hadn't detected them, they must be on high alert, rendering the element of surprise obsolete. Attack. One can only imagine the shock and frustration coursing through the leader's veins. With a resounding battle cry, he brandished his gleaming machete and led the charge. The others, similarly aggrieved and incensed, joined the chorus of war cries, drawing their weapons and charging forward. Charge. Take them down. Engage. Xiao Xian once again activated her superpower, causing a few of the attackers to stumble carelessly, tripping over stones or vines in their rush, letting out cries as they tumbled forward. Some fared even worse, colliding with rocks, nearly shattering their knees, tears streaming from the pain. Onlookers, the brothers included, halted in their tracks, bewildered by the scene that unfolded. Wasn't this a bit too clumsy? How could they be so careless? It seemed like an ill omen. The assailants grew even more impatient and enraged. As they charged forth, impatience colored their approach. When Sun Bai, Sun Qian and their comrades witnessed this formidable horde charging like a pack of wolves and tigers, bellowing and eager for combat, they remained resolute, though not particularly surprised. As they navigated the Black Tiger Forest, their senses remained keen, anticipating that something might occur within its shadowy depths. Now, with the impending threat finally manifesting, they were not only shocked but also felt a sense of readiness. Upon witnessing the charging adversaries, Sun Bei's lips curled into a cold smile, and he bellowed, "Prepare to engage." Leading the guards, he lunged forward to confront their opponents. Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian occupied separate carriages, necessitating that Sun Bai and the others relay information to him, rendering Xiao Xian's presence potentially inconvenient. Xiao Yunduan disembarked from the wagon and approached Xiao Xian's carriage. "My love, fear not. The assailants are not numerous. I believe Sun Bai, Sun Qian and their team can handle them." Aze, without engaging the enemy directly, stood guard at Xiao Xian's carriage alongside 7 or 8 other guards, keenly observing the unfolding battle. Xiao Xian, struggling to complete her task due to her dwindling energy, displayed a pale countenance when Xiao Yunduan approached. Misinterpreting her demeanor as fear, he sought to console her. Observing the battle and noticing Sun Bai, Sun Qian and their comrades effectively holding their ground, Xiao Xian withdrew her power, mustering a forced smile in Xiao Yunduan's embrace. "I'm not frightened. I trust Guard Sunday. Please don't worry, my dear." Xiao Yunduan whispered, "I'm here for you." Xiao Xian smiled, gradually regaining her composure. The skirmish continued for about half an hour. Evidently, the assailants were aware of Xiao Yunduan's location and attempted to approach the carriage, but were thwarted by the staunch resistance from Sun Qian and his team. Observing that while the guards grew bolder in their defense, they also incurred significant casualties, the leader sounded a whistle. In the blink of an eye, the assailants dispersed, vanishing from the scene. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1471. Ill-intentioned Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the rest led the effort to clean up the aftermath, tending to the wounded and providing necessary first aid. The ordinary followers, although visibly shaken, staggered forward to offer their assistance. Their limbs trembled and many could scarcely move due to exhaustion. None of the attackers survived the encounter. Sun Bai and Sun Qian felt a sense of remorse but recognized the necessity of their actions. Afterward, they invited Xiao Yunduan to a quiet spot. "Lord, those people, despite their disguises as mountain bandits and their concealed identities, are certainly not typical mountain bandits. Genuine mountain bandits lack the coordination and training we just witnessed. These individuals possess highly disciplined skills, suggesting systematic and prolonged training. It's unlikely that common mountain bandits could achieve this level of proficiency. I suspect their background. There was a significant likelihood, around 80% to 90%, that they were dispatched by one of the princes, with the fourth prince being the prime suspect. However, lacking concrete evidence, Sun Bai refrained from making baseless accusations. Xiao Yunduan nodded and replied thoughtfully, "I anticipated this would occur and their presence reassures me. Nevertheless, I have a strong sense they won't give up easily. We must remain vigilant. Instruct them to maintain heightened patrols and to report any suspicious activity to me immediately." "Understood, my lord." Sun Bai and Sun Qian nodded gravely, sharing Xiao Yunduan's sentiments. This was merely the beginning, not the conclusion. Each of the princes harbored deep-seated animosities against the crown prince, and the opportunity to undermine his standing was too tempting to resist. Whether it was solely the fourth prince or if other princes were involved remained unclear. As the crown prince, Xiao Yunduan was under constant scrutiny. He was cautious with his words and actions, refraining from making confrontational statements against his brothers to avoid tarnishing his reputation. This cautious approach allowed his siblings to accrue more power over time. Their organization boasted a substantial number of individuals under their command. Having already initiated action, they couldn't simply abandon their efforts. It was evident, though, that after the considerable delay, they wouldn't be able to exit the Black Pine Forest before nightfall, which further heightened everyone's anxiety. Xiao Yunduan remained unperturbed, calmly suggesting, "We might as well limit our travels for the day. Once we cross this rocky slope, we can find a suitable spot to spend the night. With our large group, we need to be cautious. In a way, the forest's intricate environment serves as a form of protection for us." Witnessing his composed demeanor, the group found some solace and concurred with his decision. Xiao Yunduan boarded Qiao Xian's carriage and transferred Lixia and 2 others to his own. His wife had likely been quite alarmed and needed his presence for comfort. Drawing the curtain, the carriage started to move at a leisurely pace. Xiao Yunduan took Qiao Xian into his arms, sitting her on his lap, gently reassuring her. Qiao Xian's heart warmed with a mixture of emotions, leaving her uncertain whether to laugh or cry. Nevertheless, she felt a sense of pride within herself, understanding the importance of demonstrating her courage and composure to her husband. Xiao Yunduan, seeing her unshaken demeanor, found immense relief. Throughout the journey, everyone remained on high alert and eventually traversed the rocky slope. After covering less than 3 miles, they halted and set up camp. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1472. Wolf Pack. The scout relayed that they were still about 16 to 17 miles away from the Black Tiger Forest, a distance that would require at least half a day of walking. Upon careful consideration, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the others selected a location within the woods to set up an overnight camp. They diligently cleared the area of underbrush, securing the horses to tree trunks and forming a protective ring with the carriages on the outer perimeter. They organized 4 rotating groups, each consisting of 36 individuals, to take turns patrolling during the night. The rest of the group were instructed to remain in their armor and not to remove it, maintaining a state of perpetual vigilance. As the sun slowly dipped below the western horizon, the evening glow faded, plunging the forest into deep darkness. The towering trees, rocks, and their shadowy silhouettes took on an eerie quality, exacerbated by sporadic sounds of flapping wings and eerie calls from birds, causing shivers down their spines. Their superior numbers provided some reassurance because if only a few individuals were to remain alone in this forest at night, the fear might have been paralyzing. To combat the darkness, they lit 3 large bonfires to illuminate the area. The night watchmen were responsible for ensuring the fires remained ablaze. In the moonless and pitch-black forest, the night offered no lunar illumination, making it an exceptionally dim night. On this particular night, Qiao Xian refrained from using her power to survey the surroundings. Her powers consumed significantly more energy during the night compared to daylight hours. Furthermore, she believed that the assailants would not return so promptly after their initial encounter. If they did, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the others had taken thorough precautions, leaving little room for concern. As anticipated, the night passed without any disturbances from the attackers, but they faced a different threat, a pack of wolves. Over 100 adult gray wolves, howling in the middle of the night, aggressively descended upon their camp. It seemed as though the wolves cared not for their own lives, driven by an insatiable aggression. A sudden sense of alarm rippled through the camp, instantly thrusting everyone into a heightened state of vigilance. Qiao Xian swiftly employed her superpower to assess the situation, and thankfully she detected only a pack of wolves with no human presence trailing them. These wolves exhibited highly unusual behavior, suggesting they might have been drugged with some sort of stimulant. Their ferocious howls and reckless charges threw the camp's guards into disarray, and several of them sustained bites. Under the coordinated command of Sun Bai and Sun Qian, the group eventually repelled the wolf pack after approximately an hour of intense combat. A collective sigh of relief echoed through the camp. They ignited torches to survey the scene and treat the wounded. Numerous ordinary followers were deeply shaken, huddled together in pairs or trios, consoling one another through sobs and discussions. Among the distressed individuals, one woman's screams and cries pierced the night, distinguishing her from the rest. While others cried quietly, she wept with such intensity that she seemed on the brink of screaming to the heavens. This woman was none other than Xiao Wei. During this tumultuous moment, Xiao Yunduan had gone to confer with Sun Bai and Sun Qian. Qiao Xian took it upon herself to console the frightened individuals, assess injuries and instruct Lixia and Liqiao to prepare the necessary medicines. Upon hearing Qiao Wei's anguished cries, Qiao Xian furrowed her brow and summoned Mian Mian, saying, "Let's go see what's happening." Mian Mian acknowledged the command, and Ai swiftly trailed behind. When they arrived at the scene, a crowd had gathered around Xiao Wei. As Qiao Xian approached, the crowd dispersed, making way for her. "Madam Xiao. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1473. Xiao Wei. Injured Qiao Xian nodded and directed her gaze towards Xiao Wei, who clutched her injured calf. What happened? Qiao Wei shot her an angry glare and retorted icily, "Can't you see for yourself? I'm injured." Qiao Xian gave an incredulous glance to those present. "You may leave now, lend your assistance wherever necessary and retire to rest once you're finished. We still have a morning journey ahead of us." Initially no one harbored a fondness for Qiao Wei, but upon hearing this they concurred and dispersed, leaving only Qiao He behind. Qiao Wei seethed with anger, casting a hateful glare in Qiao Xian's direction. Qiao Xian sneered, "Why are you staring at me? Return to your tent if you have the time. You're not the sole person injured, and yet, you're the only one making a scene. Miss Qiao, are you concerned that others might not notice your fine singing voice?" Qiao Wei's face flushed with anger and she snapped, "I was bitten by a wolf on my leg. I was bitten by a wolf. Observe it for yourself." The wolf's bite had nearly frightened her to death, and her leg had bled profusely. At the time she believed she might face death or be left with a permanent injury. Fortunately, the two guards managed to eliminate the wolf in time. Despite this, the wound on her leg remained substantial, causing excruciating pain that left her incapable of withholding her cries. Qiao Xian was taken aback and shifted her gaze to Qiao Wei's leg. She observed the blood staining her dress. The darkness of the night obscured the wound, which Qiao Xian wouldn't have noticed without Qiao Wei's remark. Qiao Wei's sobbing grew louder. Qiao Xian cast a stern look at Qiao He and spoke coldly, "Your mistress is injured, yet you stand here motionless? How callous. In that case you needn't serve her any longer." "Madame Xiao, what, am I not entitled to give you orders?" "Qiao Xian, do not overstep your bounds." Qiao Wei rebuked angrily. "He is my servant, and you have no right to shout at him." "I can't give her orders? So what?" Qiao Xian scoffed and turned to Yi. "Take her away and teach her a lesson." "Yes, madam." Yi, who consistently followed Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan's directives, promptly led Qiao He away. Miss. Enough." Qiao Xian delivered a resounding slap to Qiao He's face, her voice sharp. "What's the matter? Can't I issue commands to you? You're nothing more than a servant. From where did you acquire such impertinence? How dare you look down on me? By what right? Do you think I will tolerate it?" Qiao He, covering her stinging cheek, felt an overwhelming mix of humiliation and anger. She lowered her head and refrained from making any further noise. With no alternative, she bowed her head because she served Qiao Wei. Qiao Xian was prepared to scold her and even strike her, leaving her with no room to resist. Qiao Wei stood in stunned silence, quivering with rage. Were it not for her excruciating leg pain rendering her immobile, she would have risen to confront Qiao Xian in a brawl. No one treated others in such a degrading manner. What's the meaning of this? "In merely providing your insubordinate servant with a lesson," Qiao Xian jeered. "There's no need to thank me. Yi, escort her away." "Yes, let's go." This time Qiao He didn't dare to resist and cast a desperate plea towards Qiao Wei. However, Qiao Wei merely fixed a glare on Qiao Xian and chose not to utter a word. She was well aware that Qiao Xian had no intention of giving her any face. Would saying anything change Qiao Xian's mind? Qiao Xian was merely seizing an opportunity to ridicule her. Why should she demean herself? Why hadn't this wretched woman been eliminated during the daytime assassination? The attackers were completely inept. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1474. On purpose Qiao Xian instructed Mian Mian, retrieve the medicine. With her back turned to Qiao Wei, she whispered something to Mian Mian, who nodded and quickly departed. Before long, Mian Mian returned with the necessary medical supplies. Qiao Xian then directed Lixia and Liqiao to assist her in applying the medicine and bandaging Qiao Wei's wound. Afterward, she instructed two maids to remain with Qiao Wei, ensuring they didn't leave her side for even a moment. Qiao Wei displayed no gratitude toward Qiao Xian. She merely glared at her and allowed the two maids to escort her away. With time, the commotion subsided, and the camp gradually grew quieter as everyone took the opportunity to rest. Shortly thereafter, Xiao Yunduan returned to their tent, shared by him and Qiao Xian. Qiao Xian addressed him, "Husband, I believe I've discerned why they placed Qiao Wei in this group." Xiao Yunduan was taken aback. After Qiao He was led away by Yi, Mian Mian promptly followed and inquired about the medicine for external injuries. After Yi provided the information, she hurried away again. Yi didn't escort Qiao He elsewhere. Instead, he suddenly kicked her from behind, hitting the back of her knee joint. Caught off guard, Qiao emitted a pained groan and tumbled to the ground. Her vision darkened and tears welled up instantly. Suppressing the pain in her chest, she clenched her teeth and lowered her head. Madam has instructed you to kneel here without moving. You'll remain kneeling throughout the night. Should I catch you slacking off, you'll continue kneeling the following night and the one after that. Gritting her teeth, Qiao retorted, Madam has gone too far. I still need to return to serve our Mississippi. Ai snorted and maintained his silent vigil, eyeing her intently. However, his silence did not signify agreement with her words. Qiao seethed internally, cursing the peculiar individuals surrounding Xian. Especially Ai, who appeared foolish and guileless as though he were easy to deceive when in fact, he was anything but. Ai couldn't be bothered to engage with them. Even when they tried to strike up conversations with him, he remained utterly silent, no matter what they said. This time it was no different. Her vehement protests seemed to fall on deaf ears, as if they had automatically muted themselves. Nonetheless, Qiao was well aware that if she dared to make a move, he would unquestionably kick her again. Suppressing her fury, Qiao deliberately adopted a pitiable countenance. She lifted her head to gaze at Ai. My leg is wounded. Could you please provide me with some external injury medicine for treatment? Ai glanced at her but continued to maintain his silence. Qiao put on a forced smile. I have no choice but to heed Madame Xiao's directive. I'll apply the medicine and accept my punishment. As she struggled to rise, Ai raised his foot. Attempt to move. Qiao couldn't take it any longer. Her knees turned weak, causing her to tumble heavily onto the rugged ground once more. Her vision dimmed and tears nearly welled up again. Is Madame truly so heartless? My legs will be ruined if I continue kneeling like this throughout the night. Ai remained unmoved, silently thinking to himself, you deserve to have your legs ruined. A servant like you remained unscathed while your mistress got hurt. How would you complain once I've maimed your leg? It was only fair. Ai kept his gaze fixed on Qiao until the entire area was tidied up before returning to his rest. Prior to departing, he didn't neglect to issue a threat. Don't move or else humph. Qiao seethed with resentment. Following Ai's departure, although she didn't dare to leave, she promptly seated herself on the ground. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1475. Torment. Qiao gently massaged her knee, feeling the pain intensifying. Undoubtedly, her external injury was not trivial. However, she didn't have any medical supplies on her, but there was some external injury medicine in the carriage. Qiao scanned her surroundings and signaled a guard to approach. She beseechingly asked for some external injury medicine. The guard glanced at her and tossed a bottle of medicine her way. Overflowing with gratitude, Qiao hastily applied the medicine. The mountain night was chilly, with temperatures a few degrees lower than elsewhere due to the extensive forest. Qiao trembled as she discreetly requested an additional cloak. Though not as cozy as being wrapped in tense blankets, it would at least provide some defense against the cold. Shivering, she remained huddled in a ball throughout the night. The following morning she was jolted awake by a sudden, searing pain. Ai had kicked her wounded leg. In a daze, she yelped and snapped awake. You! Ai declared, Madam ordered you to kneel throughout the night as a punishment for your negligence. Is this how you regard Madam's commands? You don't seem to take Madam seriously at all. I am wounded and it's cold here. I dozed off because I wasn't vigilant. Please have mercy. Qiao knew that her wound must have reopened. Even if it was just a superficial wound, she couldn't predict how many days of torment lay ahead. Nevertheless, she was the one at fault and couldn't afford to challenge Ai in any way. All she could do was admit her mistake. Her humiliation was quite profound. Ai uttered, Madam expects you to return to your mistress. She anticipated your dishonesty and instructed you not to apply any more medicine or to take any. Kneel obediently in the carriage. If you defy her once more, I'll shatter your legs. Qiao was stunned, her scalp prickling in apprehension. If Ai stated that he would break her leg, he would undoubtedly follow through with it. He wasn't one to be careless in his threats. Understood. Qiao hobbled toward the carriage, feeling miserable. Each step she took was filled with excruciating pain. She privately cursed Ai for being exceedingly ruthless. In her current condition, she couldn't help but wonder how long it would take her to recover. Upon her return to the carriage, she was surprised to see two maidservants attending to Qiao Wei. Frowning, she said, Our miss doesn't need you to serve her. Please. The two maidservants exchanged glances but remained unmoved. Madame Xiao instructed us to be here. Yes, Madame Xiao emphasized that we must not leave without her consent. Qiao he seethed and glanced at Xiao Wei. Xiao Wei furrowed her brows slightly but said nothing. Qiao he was clearly limping and in no condition to take care of herself. Her leg had yet to heal. Bearing her anger, Qiao he eventually climbed into the carriage, her wounds screaming with pain. She allowed the two maidservants to help her, but they paid her no mind. Instead, they confidently stated, Madame Xiao sent us here to look after Miss Qiao. They were not here to serve her. Qiao he was seething with fury. Early in the morning, everyone continued their journey at a slow pace. Regardless of Qiao he's pleas for assistance, the two maidservants paid her no heed. Instead, they began to supervise her, insisting that she kneel and accept her punishment. Qiao he, she finally comprehended how Qiao Wei had felt when Xiao Xian had constantly scolded her. It was deeply frustrating, but she had no choice but to endure it. Qiao he responded indifferently, feigning as though they no longer existed. It was just kneeling after all. She would endure it. She knelt for a prolonged period. Having endured the torment outside throughout the night, she had caught a cold and suffered the effects of IS kicks. Her external injuries were substantial. Moreover, she couldn't pretend to kneel under the watchful eyes of the two maidservants. In less than half a day she fainted. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1476. Can't understand. By the time Qiao he slowly woke up, half a day had passed. The entire team had already walked out of the Black Tiger Forest. Xiao Xian asked Yi to pass the message, saying that she was going to show her some mercy so she did not need to kneel down. Qiao he gritted her teeth and thanked her. At this moment, her legs were already aching and numb, and she had almost lost consciousness. Her head was dizzy and her body felt cold and hot. It was extremely uncomfortable. However, the two maidservants acted as if they did not see anything and refused to even pour her a cup of hot water. Qiao he was angry and hateful, so she could only endure it. Deep down inside her heart, she could not help but wonder what she had done to offend Madame Xiao. It was not enough for her to make trouble with Qiao Wei. Why did she make trouble with her, the maid? It could only be said that Madame Xiao was too free. Either she was frightened and deliberately took it out on them. The group of people finally left the Black Tiger Forest safely. All of them were energized and heaved a sigh of relief. The primordial old lady in the forest was lush and gave off a strong sense of oppression. Everyone wished that they could get as far away from it as possible. After walking out, they only took a short rest and ate something before immediately starting their journey again. Only half a day had passed. They could still walk for another half a day. This road was much easier to walk. They could walk far in half a day. After the discussion, Sun Bai and Sun Qian reported to Xiao Yunduan and suggested that they should keep a steady pace for the next few days. There's clearly something wrong with those gray wolves in the middle of the night. I don't dare to say if everyone will be able to sleep peacefully every night in the future. At night they won't be able to sleep well. If they're in a hurry to travel during the day, even someone made of iron won't be able to last for more than a few days. If any negligence is caused, the consequences will be unimaginable. They all remembered that the wolf pack was the only one who attacked in the middle of the night yesterday. There was no one. In the battle in the morning yesterday, more than half of the other party had escaped. At this moment they did not know where they were hiding, waiting for them to kill their way out when they were tired and negligent. Xiao Yunduan nodded. You're right. According to the normal schedule, we will reach Huning City in almost 20 days, right? If we travel at full speed we will need about half a month. There is no need to fight for these days. If you don't have a good night's rest you should slow down. You just need to return to Huning City within a month. Everyone was tired yesterday and didn't rest well at night. Pass down the order to camp early today. I have something to say then. Xiao Yunduan took a look at the two of them and praised them inwardly. They were indeed the elites of the prince's mansion. They were very thorough and timely. Sun Bai and Sun Qian looked at each other imperceptibly and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. They hurriedly agreed with cupped fists. What they were most worried about was that Lord Xiao would panic because of his insecurity. They wanted to speed up and get to Huning City as soon as possible. Everyone knew that as long as they reached Huning City, they would be much safer. Many people in the team had already expressed this intention. They couldn't wait to look like they could endure no matter how difficult or tiring the journey was as long as they could leave this place early. However, more haste less speed meant more danger. Hence they only rushed for about 2.5 hours in the afternoon. When they arrived at a place that Sun Bai and Sun Qian felt was suitable for them to camp for the night, They ordered the entire team to stop. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1477. Slowed down as expected. This attracted a lot of dissatisfaction. What? It stopped just like that? Yes, it's too early. It's still early. We can walk for at least another 3 hours. Wouldn't it be better to speed up and go home as soon as possible? Yeah. Xiao Yunduan gathered everyone together. He was not sure if there were any spies of the fourth prince here, so Xiao Yunduan did not tell them the truth. He just said that it was better to stop and take a rest to prevent them from getting tired. It would be easier for them to travel if they had enough energy. Most of the people could not accept this reason. Xiao Yunduan had always been a gentle man, and his eagerness to go home had emboldened them. Some people could not help but raise their heads, and many people agreed with them, asking them to hurry up. Xiao Yunduan consoled them patiently, saying that it was for everyone's own good, so that they could have a good rest so that they would not feel uncomfortable on the road. There was no need to worry. Sun Bai and Sun Qian did not say a word. They stood there with indifferent expressions, but in fact they were watching coldly from the side. Their shrewd eyes swept across everyone without batting an eyelid. From today onwards, those who spoke the most actively and were the most provocative would be watched by their trusted aides. Xiao Yunduan was going to cooperate with Sun Bai and Sun Qian, so he talked with them for a long time. When Sun Bai and Sun Qian signaled him with their eyes, he turned serious and said in a low voice, "I am responsible for you, and I don't want you to come back to Huning City with a dirty face. That is unacceptable. I have made up my mind, don't say anything more. Hurry up and go to work. Set up camp early to cook and rest early. Everyone disperse." With that, he turned around and left without caring if they had anything else to say. Everyone looked at each other and could only leave dejectedly or unhappily. They went to work. Qiao Xian was waiting for Xiao Yunduan with a smile. They looked at each other and smiled. Xiao Yunduan was very pleased. He took her hand and said softly, "It will take a long time on the way. You look like you are in danger, but in fact you are saving your strength in case you are attacked. Don't worry, my wife, I have arranged everything." Qiao Xian nodded with a smile. "Husband, you don't have to explain to me. You have your own reasons." Xiao Yunduan smiled. How nice it would be if everyone was as reasonable as his wife. In the middle of the night, another crazed wolf pack came to harass them. This time there were not so many, only 20. Even so, in the middle of the night, it caused a huge commotion in the camp. Fortunately, there were no casualties. The next day they still found a suitable place to set up camp early in the morning. That night they did not encounter any more accidents. However, there were crazy wolf packs attacking at night for 2 consecutive nights. Everyone subconsciously became vigilant and felt that they would come tonight, so they did not dare to fall asleep at night. On the night of the 3rd day, Xiao Xian secretly used her superpower and extended it to 5 miles away from the camp. That night, more than 10 wolves tried to attack the camp. But before they got close, Xiao Xian used her power to mutate the vines and strangled them all to death. It was not that she was cruel, but she had no choice. Although the grassland was vast, the number of wolves in each area was limited. The wolf pack and the wolf pack each had their own territory, so they would not easily cross the line. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1478. Superpower. It was impossible for the other party to always find so many wolves to cause trouble. The fact that there were fewer of them each time was a good indication of the truth. If there were more tomorrow night or the night after, it would definitely be even less. Moreover, in a few days there would definitely not be any more. That night, everyone finally had a good night's sleep. They were full of energy and they finally felt more at ease as they chatted and laughed. It seemed like the other party had run out of tricks. Qiao Xian was exhausted at night, so she was very sleepy during the day. At first, Xiao Yunduan thought that something was wrong with her, so he was worried and anxious. But then she said with a smile that she did not sleep well at night and that she just needed to get some sleep in during the day. Then Xiao Yunduan asked the accompanying doctor to check her pulse. It turned out that she was indeed tired and not in good spirits, so he did not insist. Qiao Xian slept for half a day in the wagon and finally got over it. When they were about to reach their camp in the afternoon, they were much more energetic. Seeing this, Li Xia smiled and said, "Madam looks much more energetic now. Mian Mian, quickly go and tell the adults. Don't let Lord worry." Mian Mian smiled and agreed. She ordered the carriage to slow down and jump down. Qiao Xian was not able to stop them, so she said helplessly, "That is not necessary. You are just messing around. Li Xiao and Li Qiao covered their mouths and laughed. Li Qiao also smiled and said, Madam, this was all instructed by the Lord. You went to bed early in the morning. The Lord came over several times and saw that you were sleeping soundly, so he couldn't bear to disturb you. That's why he specially instructed you. The Lord is taking good care of you, madam. True. Qiao Xian got slightly startled. So she had slept for so long? She only knew that she had a very deep and comfortable sleep, but she had not expected that she would fall asleep during the whole day. A few moments later, Xiao Yunduan rode a horse over and called her through the curtain. Qiao Xian lifted the curtain and smiled at him. Husband. Xiao Yunduan smiled and looked at her up and down. You look much more energetic. You must be tired. As she spoke, she felt a little guilty. Over the past few days she had probably been frightened a lot. Although she did not show it on her face when he comforted her, she was still smiling and comforting him instead. However, how could he not be afraid? Xiao Yunduan sighed inwardly. Thinking about how there were still so many days to go, he couldn't help but say some comforting words. They chatted for a while and Xiao Yunduan left when someone came to look for him. After traveling for less than half an hour, they stopped and set up camp. At this time it was about 4 in the afternoon. In this place where the sky turned dark much later than in the capital, there were at least 4 hours before it turned dark. Qiao Xian was full of energy and felt refreshed, so she went to find trouble with Qiao Wei. Qiao Wei's injury had been tampered with by Qiao Xian, and she was recovering very slowly. Qiao He's leg had been kicked by A Yi, and the medicine was not very effective either. These days the two of them had been very low-key and kept a low profile. As soon as Qiao Xian arrived, Qiao Wei got startled and stared at her. Qiao Xian snorted. I'm just here to see how Miss Qiao is doing. Please get well or we will be dragged down. You didn't do it on purpose, right? You. The veins on Qiao Wei's forehead throbbed as she gritted her teeth. Qiao Xian, don't push me too far. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1479. Too surprising. Qiao Xian did not care about what she said, so she made a fuss for a while before leaving. Qiao Wei wanted to curse, but when she saw the two maids in the carriage, she gritted her teeth and almost vomited blood. That night, just as Qiao Xian had expected, less than 10 wolves were released to cause trouble. It seemed that they had a very clear purpose. The result of the attack was not important. What was important was to harass them and not let them live in peace. Unfortunately, they had miscalculated Rui's plan. Those few wolves were killed by Qiao Xian when they were still 5 miles away. After finishing the work that night, Qiao Xian found that she was not as tired as last night. It had something to do with the fact that there were not many wolves tonight. Maybe it was because she had used too much last night, which was also a stimulation for her power, making it more solid. Another safe and sound night passed. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. They felt that the other party must have given up after realizing that there was no opportunity to take advantage of them no matter what they did. The atmosphere in the entire camp became much more relaxed and light. Sun Bai and Sun Qian did not dare to be negligent. They ordered their trusted subordinates to pass down the order. They still had to be careful and vigilant. It was impossible for the fourth prince to only have this little trick up his sleeve. What they did not know was that in another place in the grassland, a group of people looked at the row of wolf corpses on the ground in front of them. Their expressions were solemn as they fell into deep shock and contemplation. It was the same for both knights. Before these wolves could reach the other party's camp, they were all dead. There was not a single wound on his body. All of them were suffocated to death by the neck. How was this possible? This was a wolf, not some harmless little animal. Moreover, they had fed them medicine that would make them irritable and irrational. If they wanted to kill them, they could only fight them head-on. No one could strangle them so neatly. However, such a thing had really happened. There were more than 30 of them, so there was no way they could be wrong. What the hell is going on? Strange, too strange. How did they do it? What kind of method is this? It's too terrifying. The group of people were bewildered. They discussed and discussed, but in the end, they could not come to a conclusion. They did not believe it. They still had the last group of wolves that they had hired someone to capture. There were 36 of them. They had originally planned to release them 3 nights later to harass them, but now they had changed their minds. They would release them all that night and send 7 people to follow them to investigate. They had to find out what was going on. So this night, Qiao Xian not only found the wolves, but also the people following them. Those people must have realized that those wolves had died abnormally. They wanted to see clearly. Fortunately, only 7 people came. It was obviously impossible for 7 people to keep an eye on more than 30 wolves. Qiao Xian's superpower had reached a level where she could control her power freely. Also, it was very dark at night and the grass was very lush at this time of the year. She could always choose their blind spots to attack, and soon 7 or 8 wolves died silently. When someone noticed the dead wolves and ran over to take a look, the others joined them as well. While they were looking at each other, Qiao Xian took the opportunity to strike, using her superpower to take down another 7 or 8 wolves before they could see them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1480. It happened again. She repeated the same method 2 or 3 times. When the 7 people were dizzy, bewildered, and unable to look around in time, the 36 wolves had already suffocated to death. They silently lay in various postures in the grass. Under the bleak night sky, a cold wind blew, and the weeds rustled. A bone-piercing chill rose from under their feet, making one's hair stand on end. Ghost. There's a ghost. One of them let out a shrill cry and screamed as he turned around and ran. The other 6 were already frightened by this strange scene. With someone taking the lead, everyone's mentality immediately collapsed. One after another they just turned around and ran in panic. How was this still a Shadow Guard assassin with strong martial arts skills? They were just in a sorry state. Qiao Xian snickered inwardly. She immediately activated her power and wanted to kill all 7 of them. She did not dare to kill them, but these bastards were not good people. They could at least be half crippled. But these people were not weak, so they ran away as fast as lightning. Qiao Xian did not manage to catch all of them, so she only caught the 2 people who were the last. The 2 of them were caught by the grass and fell to the ground. In their shock, they wanted to get up and continue running, but they could not get up no matter what. The grass wrapped around their feet became tighter and tighter, so tight that it was almost into their flesh. The 2 of them were both experts in martial arts and could easily break the necks of others. However, at this moment they were wrapped by the weeds and could not break free. They had just witnessed such a strange scene. Now that they had encountered such a situation, the 2 of them were frightened out of their wits. They tore open their throats and screamed, "Help! Help!" Then their eyes rolled back and they actually fainted from fear. After dawn, the other party's group came searching. When they saw the wolf corpses all over the ground, they were all speechless. When they found the 2 of them, they checked their breathing and found that they were still breathing. They were overjoyed and quickly saved them. They were still hoping to get something out of them. Unexpectedly, the 2 of them were still filled with fear when they woke up. They did not know anything. They really did not know. It must be a ghost. A ghost grabbed my foot. I couldn't break free no matter how hard I struggled. Must be a ghost. It's too scary, too scary. One of them was mumbling incoherently, while the other was so frightened that his eyes were frozen. When he heard these words, his face instantly turned pale, and he screamed with fear in his eyes. He had obviously gone crazy. When everyone looked at the 2 of them again, their legs were already crippled. Moreover, their mental state was abnormal. Everyone looked at each other, especially those who had personally experienced that strange thing last night. Their eyes were filled with fear, and their hearts were filled with sorrow. Almost they would also become like this. Lord, what should we do? What kind of demon, fey, demonic spirit technique is this? What kind of demon technique is this? No matter what it is, everyone fell silent and the air became suffocating. Yes, no matter what it was, they could not resist it. How were they supposed to continue playing like this? Were they really going to die one by one? Fear rose in everyone's hearts and they all wanted to retreat. The hesitation in the leader's eyes only lasted for a short moment. He sneered and said, "I don't know what unorthodox methods they used, but their goal has clearly been achieved. Look at all of you. What are you afraid of? Don't forget what we're here for. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1481. Discovered again. Remember Master's warnings before we embarked? Can't say you're ignorant of Master's temperament. Heads hung in solemn agreement as the leader continued, shedding light on the mysterious wolf deaths. The wolves were drugged by us, but they outsmarted us. Planted medicine outside their camp and the wolves succumbed. Relief washed over the group as they nodded, finding clarity in the explanation. As for those 2, they were likely captured and had their wills crushed, left behind to sow panic. Your reactions played right into their hands. A collective sense of shame settled among them. The leader's cold smile cut through. Don't buy into their schemes. Prepare yourselves. Tonight we infiltrate and eliminate Xiao. Yes. That night, over 30 people stealthily approached Qiao Xian, Xiao Yunduan and the others. However, Qiao Xian detected them 5 miles away. With time being of the essence, Qiao Xian couldn't afford to let her guard down. Sleep during the day, vigilance at night. Every moment counted. Surprisingly, her superpower became more potent and concentrated with each stimulation. A delightful revelation amidst the tension. Tonight, a substantial number of skilled individuals, clad in nocturnal attire, silently moved with expertise. Their potential intrusion posed unimaginable consequences. Qiao Xian, however, smirked internally. Without hesitation, she employed her superpower, setting the camp stones in motion, causing grass and leaves to tremble violently. This anomaly swiftly captured the attention of patrolling guards. Birds resting in the distance took flight, their alarmed cries piercing the night air. Chilled to the bone, the guard shouted, "Be on guard! Be on guard!" The would-be assassins, brimming with killing intent and set on catching their targets off guard, seethed with anger as their vision darkened. Curses filled the air. Bastard! Bastard! Boss, what now? Should we press on? Why bother advancing? The leader spat hatefully. We've alerted them. No chance of victory, no chance of success. Retreat. Yes. Exposure was no longer a concern. Abandoning stealth, the group hastily reversed course. Sun Bai and his men pursued, but it was too late. Regrettably, they had to relent. In a concealed location, over 30 individuals in night clothes, some standing, some sitting, wore grim expressions. Unease spread among them as they exchanged furtive glances. Something was amiss. It felt as if the other party had divine intervention. Despite their efforts to conceal traces during the ambush and this sneak attack, they inexplicably triggered the nesting birds, causing a chaotic disturbance and thwarting their plan. The inexplicable turn of events left them thoroughly disheartened. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1482. Could there be a spy? They were all elite individuals handpicked by the Fourth Prince, capable of taking on 10 opponents solo. Whether in martial arts or strategic thinking, they excelled. Even if the other party's defenses were as impenetrable as an iron bucket, the likelihood of infiltrating and assassinating them was still remarkably high. Yet, before they could make a move, an unexpected incident occurred. How could they reconcile with such a turn of events? This was a level of frustration they had never experienced before. Boss, could there be a spy among us? How else could this be so coincidental? The mere suggestion sent shockwaves through the group. The revelation hung in the air, prompting furtive glances and silent suspicions among them. Each member couldn't help but wonder if someone among them was a double agent. The leader felt a chill in his heart, eyeing everyone with suspicion. He was not one to believe in chance or luck, and the idea of a traitor seemed to provide a more plausible explanation. Yet, identifying the mole was no easy task. None of them appeared to be a likely suspect. Despite being trusted aides of His Highness, the unpredictability of the human heart left room for doubt. If there's no evidence, refrain from baseless accusations, the leader warned, though internally he pondered, could the accuser be deflecting attention from their own guilt? Despite the suspicion, immediate action seemed inappropriate. The priority now was to uncover the mole. Amidst the tension, the atmosphere suddenly shifted to calmness, surprising Xiao Yunduan, Sun Bai and Sun Qian. This time they were genuinely stunned, struggling to grasp the meaning behind the other party's actions. Even the experienced Sun Bai and Sun Qian found themselves bewildered. The only certainty amidst the confusion was the assurance of sufficient rest time. With that, the pace of their journey could be accelerated. Yet, vigilance remained paramount, especially during the night. Careful selection of safe resting places was imperative. The plan had undergone a drastic change. What was initially estimated to be a cautious month-long journey was now shortened by 6 to 7 days, adding a layer of torment to their stay in this desolate, dangerous foreign land. The return to Huning City was imminent, slated for no more than 3 days according to the revised itinerary. The anticipation lifted spirits, infusing the group with newfound energy as they hurried forward. Each evening, during their camp setups and rests, small groups convened to passionately discuss plans for their return to Huning City. The prospect of relaxation and rest fueled their eagerness to hasten the journey. That night, they camped on a small hill, enjoying a broad field of vision with their backs against a weathered stone wall. As they neared Huning City, the scarcity of trees made ambushes difficult, contributing to a subconscious sense of relaxation. Amidst the eagerness to return home, a lapse in attention became inevitable. Little did they anticipate that their proximity to Huning City would almost lead to their demise on an otherwise ordinary night. Accustomed to extending her superpower's range to 5 miles, Xianxia ensured constant vigilance over the surroundings, keeping everyone safe. In the early morning haze, the thunderous sound of approaching horse hooves startled Xianxia, prompting her to instinctively retract her superpower. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1483. Besiege. Xianxia was disoriented by the earth-shattering noise. Before she could react, a piercing whistle echoed through the intermediate camp. In swift succession, Sun Bai, Sun Qian and others shouted, "Enemy attack! Quick! Prepare to defend! Hurry up!" Under the leader's commands, the guards swiftly armed themselves and assumed their positions. The ordinary followers, engulfed in chaos, were left unattended as everyone focused on the impending threat. Cavalries approached with lightning speed, catching Xianxia off guard. In the blink of an eye, they were upon her. Charge! Kill! The thunderous battle cries sent shivers down spines. Horses neighed, hooves raised dust, and a formidable group of at least 100 warriors brandishing bright sabers and long swords charged forward with deadly intent. The ground quivered. Fire! 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 Both sides issued the order simultaneously. Arrows hissed through the air, intertwining like locusts, and sharp, cold arrowheads aimed straight for their targets. The camp descended further into chaos, with a cacophony of screams and cries filling the air. Xianxia, with a pale face, stood amidst the chaos, flanked by Lixia, Qiao and Mian, while Yi took a sturdy stance in front of them. Xianxia activated her superpower, using roots to trip the oncoming horses. The galloping horses, too fast to evade, succumbed to the trap. Dozens of them knelt down, unleashing screams and neighs, tossing some riders off in the process. In the blink of an eye, dozens of horses fell in a spectacular scene. Get off the horse! Get off the horse! Charge forward and kill. The opposing party was clearly caught off guard by the unexpected turn of events. Seeing the inevitability of the battle, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the others seized the opportunity. As the opposing horses collided and chaos ensued, Sun Bai waved his hand and commanded, "Team 1, Team 2, Team 3, follow me and fight our way out. Archers, get ready. The rest of you hold your positions. Brothers, charge." Sun Bai leaped into action, his long sword moving like a meteor. He stabbed an opponent in the chest, kicked them away and swung his sword with lethal precision. The leader, with a single eye glaring fiercely, raised a bright saber and slashed at Sun Bai. Both sides plunged into a chaotic battle. Saber light and sword shadows scattered in every direction. The sharp clang of weapons colliding sent tremors of fear through onlookers. Screams and grunts punctuated the chaos and blood splattered, turning the ground red. Some fell never to rise again. Xiao Yunduan and a few guards gathered the ordinary servants in designated spots, quelling their panic. He turned to look at Xianxia, their eyes meeting. Xianxia waved at him with a reassuring smile, and Xiao Yunduan felt a sense of relief. The enemies, numerous and relentless, displayed savage ruthlessness, charging fearlessly with no intent to relent. The two sides clashed in a tumultuous battle, locked in an unyielding struggle. The chaos prevented Xianxia from effectively using her superpower. Unable to accurately target anyone, she could only fret internally. At this rate, a solution seemed elusive. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1484. Fight. The opposing force boasted a larger number of people, resulting in more guards than their own team. However, the numerical advantage was not significant. The adversaries displayed a valiant and ferocious demeanor, exuding a sense of banditry. Their bold and reckless fighting style proved challenging to resist. Their side seemed impervious to defense, while the defenders faced the burden of maintaining their position at all costs. The dilemma lay in the fact that the opposing party operated without restraint, unburdened by concerns. On the contrary, their side had to staunchly defend the position, as any breach, whether it led to the slaughter of ordinary entourage members or their capture as hostages, would thrust them into a perilous situation. The opposing force understood this dynamic well, which drove them to risk their lives in a relentless charge. Despite their best efforts, their men could only fight to a draw, forming an ineffective barrier. The current situation indicated an imminent breakthrough of the defense line. Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the core leaders, acutely aware of the impending threat, felt a sense of extreme anxiety. Unexpectedly, a billow of dust appeared in the distance. Another group of people galloped towards them, heading in their direction. Judging by their speed, they would likely reach them in an instant. It was evident that their numbers were significant. Sun Bai and Sun Qian exchanged a glance, understanding each other's thoughts. Let Yi escort the Lord and Madam to safety. Rally our brothers and we'll fight our way out. Everyone, flee for your lives. Our fate depends on luck. Let's do it. Bitterness and heaviness weighed on them, but this seemed to be the only viable course of action. Their unwillingness was palpable. Just a couple of days away from reaching Huning City, yet now faced with the prospect of death on the grassland. Who would willingly accept such a fate? The ruthlessness and lack of scruples displayed by the fourth prince, colluding with grassland bandits to orchestrate this attack, caught them off guard. These were no ordinary bandits. The moment the fight began, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and others could discern their true nature. Sun Bai shouted, forcing his opponent to retreat with his long sword before swiftly heading towards Xiao Yunduan. The approaching smoke and dust signaled the imminent arrival of reinforcements. The ground trembled and the distant hooves' faint neigh echoed. Time was running out. A decision had to be made instantly and acted upon without delay. Xiao Yunduan promptly rejected Sun Bai's suggestion. Let Yi escort my wife and his childhood friend. Can't you all protect me? Naturally, he stood by their side. But, no buts. If I go with my wife, we become an easy target. They'll relentlessly pursue us. However, if we separate, they'll chase after me individually, relieving some pressure. Those pursuing Qiao Xian would find no success against the Thunder God's speed. Yi, endowed with strength and martial prowess, alongside his intelligent wife, held a high chance of escaping danger and returning to Huning City. The decision was made and Xiao Yunduan asserted, "It's settled. You organize the men to break through and I'll talk to her. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1485. Prepare to escape. Sun Bai stood there, momentarily speechless. Frowning, he sighed, then stomped his feet to carry out Xiao Yunduan's orders, organizing the servants. Taking hold of Qiao Xian's arms, Xiao Yunduan whispered urgently. Qiao Xian was taken aback. There's no time. Tell Yi to prepare. You'll charge forward shortly. Sun Bai will arrange cover for you. Don't worry, they'll be fine. Sun Bai and the others can protect me. It'll take Lixia and the rest, but whether they make it out depends on luck. Xiao Yunduan couldn't offer guarantees in such dire circumstances. A lump formed in Qiao Xian's throat. Her bond with Lixia and the others ran deep, and she couldn't leave them behind. But to Xiao Yunduan they were merely servants. Had it not been for him, Xiao Yunduan wouldn't have given them special attention. Today's unforeseen events surpassed their expectations. The chances of escape hinged on life itself. Suddenly Qiao Xian had an idea. She held on to Xiao Yunduan and said, "Husband, it might not be an enemy, it could be one of us." Xiao Yunduan was startled. Quickly Qiao Xian smiled and continued, "I don't believe they're enemies. They don't need to approach in two separate groups. If they truly belong to our side, wouldn't it be better to combine forces and attack simultaneously? Don't forget, we're close to Huning City with numerous garrisons within 100 miles. Who's to say?" Xiao Yunduan's eyes flickered as he began to consider. Qiao Xian chuckled. "Shall we make a bet?" She gazed at him with bright black eyes, a faint smile gracing her red, full lips. The curve of her eyes and the flicker within spoke of her confidence and brightness. Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but be excited by her words. What she suggested made perfect sense. With that in mind, he decided to take the gamble. Even if they lost, there would still be time to escape later. Having Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and Yi by their side made the couple's escape a manageable task. For the others, escaping now would likely result in heavy casualties, and the outcome wouldn't differ much if they waited. On the other hand, if the bet proved correct, there would be no need for anyone to escape and no harm would befall them. The gamble seemed too favorable to pass up. Xiao Yunduan erupted into laughter. "All right, let's take the gamble. You've always been lucky and I trust you." Qiao Xian smiled. "We are both lucky." The couple exchanged grins. Xiao Yunduan immediately sought out Sun Bai. Sun Bai was taken aback by his words, contemplated it, and eventually agreed. Indeed, the distinction between fighting their way out now or later wasn't significant. In that case they decided to wait. The thunderous sound of horse hooves became deafening as the group of at least 50 to 60 riders approached. Xianxia, is it really you? Why are you here again? Although this group consisted of only 50 to 60 cavalrymen, it was evident they were elite. All had arrows notched, aimed at the battlefield where the two sides had ceased their deadly conflict. Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the others could now clearly discern that these individuals were from Great Qin. Despite lacking military attire, the bows and arrows were unmistakably of military origin. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1486. The result of the gamble. Additionally, these horses were impeccably groomed, a standard not found anywhere outside the military. In contrast to Xianxia and his companions' mounts, which varied greatly. Sun Bai promptly cupped his fists and declared in a resounding voice, "Brothers, we are escorting Princess Xuanfu and the Prince of Qingdi's wedding envoy team. For some reason we find ourselves besieging and attacking these bandits. Please assist us. We will surely repay your kindness after this." The opposing group appeared startled, gasping as they regarded them with curiosity. Xianxia rose and offered a respectful salute. "Thank you so much." Xianxia, in apparent distress, feigned composure. He spat and declared fiercely, "How would I know who they are? I just aim to relieve them of their riches. Unluckily for me, it seems my fortunes have run dry. Let's go." With a shout, he leaped onto the nearest horse, clamping his legs together and smacking the horse's hindquarters twice with the hilt of his knife. The horse whinnied in pain and galloped away. His subordinates, in a panicked frenzy, hastily mounted their horses, some settling for whichever they could seize. In the blink of an eye, they scattered like frightened birds and beasts, leaving the scene swiftly. The young man who had berated Xianxia earlier brandished his whip with a cold smile. "Consider yourself fortunate this time. You've had an easy escape." As he spoke, he dismounted, and those with him also stowed their bows and arrows, following suit. Xianxia retrieved the marriage envoy token and handed it to Sun Bai, proclaiming loudly, "I am Xiao, Minister Counselor of the Ministry of Revenue, escorting Princess Xuanfu and the marriage envoy. Here is my token. May I know how to address you?" It wasn't merely a matter of formalities but also a means to confirm their identities. Xianxia also requested the same from the opposing party. Given the unfamiliarity between the two sides, uncertainties lingered. What if they were deceived? What if the other party, seemingly weak, was actually in league with Xianxia and his accomplices? In this unfamiliar terrain, Xianxia couldn't afford to be careless. Sun Bai, holding the token, led a few personal guards forward, taking the initiative to request verification from the other party, displaying a commendable sincerity. The man burst into laughter, a blend of amusement and surprise evident in his tone. "Lord Xiao, your reputation precedes you. I am Meng Wanfu, the general stationed at Baiming Pass, 40 miles northeast of Huning City, bestowed with the title of Longhu General by the Emperor. Yesterday, I led my men out of the city for a hunt and unexpectedly crossed paths with you. Lord Xiao, rest assured from this moment on, all of you are safe." Galloping across the grassland with his cavalry, Meng Wanfu moved considerably faster than Xianxuan's gradual journey. Meng Wanfu produced his identity token and handed it to Sun Bai. The moment Sun Bai touched the token, he sensed its authenticity. Delighted, he returned the token to Xianxua. Sun Bai recognized Meng Wanfu, a rising star in the military. Without a prominent background, he relied on his boldness to make a name for himself. Known for suppressing bandits in the northern region, he once single-handedly thwarted a Beihu ambush on a town, saving over 1,000 lives. This feat earned him the title of a fourth-grade general. Blessed with subsequent successes, he received 2 significant promotions. In a moment of joy, the emperor granted him the title of a third-rank Longhu general. Lacking strong affiliations, Meng Wanfu became a subject of clandestine scrutiny, with various factions attempting to secure his allegiance. However, none dared to be too overt in their efforts. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1487. Old friend. That's why the Crown Prince took notice of him. Sun Bai and Sun Qian were also aware of it. Knowing Sun Bai's meticulous nature, Xianxua trusted that if he was fine, there must be no problem. He moved forward to meet General Meng. With the confirmation of safety, everyone let out a collective sigh of relief. They proceeded to clean up the battlefield, tend to their wounds and pack their belongings. Meng Wanfu and his companions joined in to lend assistance. Out of the blue, Meng Wanfu turned to Xiao Yunduan and remarked, "Lord Xiao, do you truly not recognize me?" Xiao Yunduan was taken aback. He gazed at Meng Wanfu perplexed. "General Meng, have we met before?" A handsome and petite soldier beside Meng Wanfu chuckled. Looking up, she smiled and said, "Lord Xiao, do you remember me?" Both Xiao Yunduan and Sun Bai were surprised. This bodyguard, disguised as a man, was evidently a woman. While her true identity initially went unnoticed, her feminine tone during speech now made it unmistakable. "You are?" Xiao Yunduan furrowed his brow. He had a faint recollection of her but couldn't place her name. The situation felt perplexing. One was General Meng and the other stood before him. They were likely associated with General Meng. Both inquired if he remembered them, yet he couldn't recall either. The awkwardness of the situation weighed on him. If he had encountered these two individuals before, logic dictated that he shouldn't have forgotten them. This was unreasonable. It felt too unreasonable. Since when did his memory become so unreliable? The woman burst into laughter and explained, "I apologize, Lord Xiao. It's perfectly normal not to remember me. While we hailed from the same village, you were engrossed in your studies, either at the academy or home. Meanwhile, I toiled in the mountains and fields every day. I doubt you saw me more than a few times. You're a renowned scholar in our village. Naturally, you'd be remembered." Xiao Yunduan gasped, suddenly recalling something. Surprised, he exclaimed, You're Ding Xiang. I didn't expect to see you here." Xiao Yunduan nearly blurted out, "You're not dead." Recognizing the inauspiciousness, he cut himself off just in time. Normally he wouldn't make such a low-level mistake. Yet Ding Xiang's presence caught him off guard. He did remember Ding Xiang. Otherwise he wouldn't have found her familiar. However, the Ding Xiang before him differed significantly from his memory, preventing the connection. The magical and unbelievable nature of this world left him dumbfounded. Ding Xiang joined Meng Wanfu in hearty laughter. "I never imagined Lord Xiao would recall me." Ding Xiang expressed her joy. Meng Wanfu smiled, opting not to press Xiao Yunduan further. He respectfully bowed and said, "Lord Xiao, do you remember saving a man in a coma on your way home with Madame Xiao?" "That was me." While Xiao Yunduan might not recall Meng Wanfu could never forget his savior. Unaware of the capital's situation, the Lord Xiao before them matched the image in Meng Wanfu's mind. Ding Xiang's mention of Xiaoding village aligned with what Madame Xiao had conveyed. Everything fell into place. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1488. What godly luck is this? Xiao Yunduan recollected the incident, widening his eyes in astonishment. That's you." Meng Wanfu chuckled. "Indeed. Lord Xiao, both you and Madame Xiao are my saviors. Never expected to cross paths today. Fate works in mysterious ways, haha." Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but join in the laughter. Meanwhile, Sun Bai, Sun Qin, and the others were left dumbfounded. What kind of magical spectacle was unfolding? What extraordinary stroke of luck was this? Life indeed teemed with surprises. Meng Wanfu continued, "Lord Xiao's triumph in the Primus made Madame Xiao incredibly proud. She spoke highly of your village, foretelling a bright future. I remember the person who aided me was also from Xiaoding village. Truly Xiaoding village is blessed. Little did I expect that you, Lord Xiao, were that person." Ding Xiang chuckled. "On that note, Madame Xiao is also my savior. If she hadn't secretly provided me with food back then, I doubt I'd have had the strength to scale the wall, let alone escape." Emotions welled up in Ding Xiang. Xiao Yunduan, at a loss for words, could only offer a helpless expression. After a brief exchange, Xiao Yunduan gathered that their awareness of the capital's affairs was limited. They remained oblivious to the developments between him and his wife or her involvement in Princess Xuanfi's wedding party. Understandably, the distant capital held little relevance to the border soldiers. They seldom concerned themselves with events in the capital, deeming them unrelated and inconsequential. Smiling, Xiao Yunduan added, "My wife is among the guests accompanying Princess Xuanfu on her journey to be wed. Initially, she was conversing with the princess and is currently with the envoys, so you..." "Really?" Ding Xiang's eyes sparkled with surprise and delight. "Is Madame Xiao truly here? Where can I find her?" Xiao Yunduan gestured behind him and Ding Xiang eagerly rushed toward them. Meng Wanfu chuckled and waved at Xiao Yunduan, expressing respect. "Lord Xiao, please. It seems we still have a considerable distance to cover." Lord Xiao, take a rest. Xiao Yunduan nodded with a smile. General Meng, there's no need for such formality. I don't possess the qualifications. But Meng Wanfu insisted, you are more than worthy. Anytime you're worthy. Scholars like you are admirable, knowing so much, unlike me, barely literate. Besides, you're my savior. Xiao Yunduan countered, General Meng, you misunderstand. Even without our assistance, you would have carved out your own path to success. We merely lent a helping hand. General Meng, let's not bring this up again. I'm not deserving of such praise. Meng Wanfu laughed heartily. Alright, let's drop the topic. In short, if Lord Xiao ever needs my assistance, just ask. Xiao Yunduan's thoughts turned to Qi. He contemplated seeking Meng Wanfu's help, given that Qi was also in the area. However, broaching the subject now seemed inappropriate. He would address it in a few days. Ding Xiang spotted a group of busy women on the hill and hastened toward them. Initially oblivious, Lixia, Qiao, and the others were taken aback when they saw her approaching their mistress. They quickly intercepted her. My lord, you, Ding Xiang burst into laughter and realizing her attire, explained with a smile, I'm a woman just like you. Please don't stop me. Where is Madame Xiao? I'm an old friend. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1489. Old friendly Xia and Qiao were bewildered. An old friend? Ding Xiang scanned the surroundings and spotted Xiao Xian. With a cheerful smile, she waved her hands and called out, Madame Xiao. Madame Xiao. Her melodic voice confirmed her identity as a woman. Xiao Xian looked up and recognized her. Stunned. You are? Ding Xiang spared Xiao Xian the guessing game. Lifting her head, she beamed with a bright smile. Madame Xiao, I am Ding Xiang from Shouting Village. You visited me that night and brought me food. Ding Xiang. Xiao Xian echoed Xiao Yunduan's surprise, nearly bursting with excitement. Ding Xiang. I knew you would be all right. I had a feeling back then. I never expected this. Ding Xiang chuckled and nodded emphatically. Yes, I'm perfectly fine. Despite their brief encounter, the unique circumstances had etched Ding Xiang in Xiao Xian's memory. Meeting an old friend from such a distant place, and with Ding Xiang's warm reception, the two instantly felt a strong connection. As the two groups merged and resumed their journey, Ding Xiang had changed into simple women's clothes and settled into Xiao Xian's wagon. Curious, Ding Xiang inquired about the reactions of her former supreme-grade family after her departure. Xiao Xian candidly shared the details, and Ding Xiang, unfazed by her grandparents' response, flashed a cold smile. Hearing about the rift between Ding Xiang's family and the supreme-grade family due to her death, her eyes moistened. She discreetly tilted her head, wiping away a few tears. Blaming them for their perceived weakness had been a constant, even after gaining wealth. However, Xiao Xian's revelation seemed to dissipate the resentment, bringing clarity. While her awakening came at the cost of her life, the understanding dawned that her death would render it all meaningless. Recognizing the deep-seated issues in her family, Ding Xiang grasped that change wouldn't come easily, especially given her father's history of oppression and her mother's meek nature. As Xiao Xian reassured her about her family's well-being, Ding Xiang found solace. The news of her supposed demise, while initially upsetting, ultimately reassured her of their love. Even with a changed heart, the familial connection remained in her blood. Grateful for not having perished, Ding Xiang found comfort in Xiao Xian's words. She expressed her joy and proposed calling each other sisters. With a nod and a smile, Xiao Xian agreed, if you don't mind, we can indeed call each other sisters. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1490. Background. Of course not. You're the wife of the Primus. You're amazing. I'm the one who doesn't mind. Ding Xiang smiled and expressed her gratitude. Sister, brother-in-law are all good people. Thank you for what you've done for my father and the others. I'm relieved to know that they're all fine. As she spoke, she chuckled. As for that family, when I go back with old Meng one day, I'll teach them a lesson. Now that our family has cut ties with them, that's great. We don't have to worry about anything anymore. Now that Ding Xiang was financially stable, she looked forward to returning and asserting herself. She was determined not to miss the opportunity. Ding Xiang expressed regret and jokingly said, it's a pity that they're not living a glorious life now. Sigh, I can't wait for them to live a prosperous life now. When they lose everything and fall heavily, it will be even worse and harder to accept. Qiao Xian was left speechless. It sounded quite reasonable. When Ding Xiang discreetly left the village, a caravan happened to be traveling from the county to the provincial capital. She fabricated a pitiful background, claiming she was going to the provincial capital to seek refuge with her relatives. She pleaded with the caravan to take her along and offered to help in return. Impressed by her apparent hardship and clean appearance, the caravan owner agreed to bring her along. And so, Ding Xiang arrived in the provincial city. Her initial plan was to find a way to earn some capital before using it to establish herself. Little did she know that she would encounter Meng Wanfu by a stroke of luck. Both of them found themselves in similar circumstances, hailing from Heshan County with nowhere to go. They ended up relying on each other, making Ding Xiang feel more at ease, as if she had found a reliable ally. Although she had anticipated that this era differed from the more liberal time before her transmigration, leaving Xiaoding village made her realize just how inhospitable this era was for a single woman. Establishing herself was an arduous task, especially for a woman with nothing to her name. In this era, even if she were captured by a few ruffians in broad daylight, there would be no one to come to her aid. Ding Xiang proposed that Meng Wanfu enlist in the army. Given his skills, military service was a viable option. They could head to the border together and await news of conscription. Besides, border cities were likely to have thriving trade, providing opportunities to earn money easily. Even if joining the army wasn't possible, there were still ample opportunities to make a living. Meng Wanfu considered the proposal and found it to be a practical approach, so he agreed. Using some of Meng Wanfu's funds, Ding Xiang purchased several sets of clothing for both of them. She also acquired a set of basic study tools and a few books, such as the 3-character classic and the 100 family surnames. During this process, Meng Wanfu felt a pang in his heart. However, Ding Xiang explained that he lacked literacy skills. Without the ability to read and write, it would be challenging for him to stand out in the army. Learning a few words every night was necessary for his future prospects. Though reluctant, Meng Wanfu acknowledged the validity of Ding Xiang's reasoning. Driven by his deep-seated resentment, he gritted his teeth and reluctantly agreed. Ding Xiang took on the role of his tutor. As for how Ding Xiang could read, she couldn't actually read. However, while working, she often eavesdropped on lessons in the neighboring village's school. In doing so, she managed to memorize the 3-character classic. Matching the words in the book allowed her to recognize them naturally. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1491. Foothold. Meng Wanfu believed in her and admired her. Subsequently, Ding Xiang employed this technique to instruct him in recognizing commonly used words. She went on to purchase several history books, narrating tales of the 36 strategies, historical anecdotes, principles, and more from the books. Meng Wanfu became even more impressed, feeling his own intellectual limitations. He found it challenging to grasp so much merely through reading. However, 50 taels of silver proved insufficient. In the provincial city, Ding Xiang acquired a subpar eyebrow pencil, investing over 10 taels in novel-looking paper flowers to sell to the embroidery workshop. Despite the flowers appearing novel, their actual value was limited, and the embroidery workshop was unwilling to pay a high price. After negotiations, they settled for a sale of 4 taels of silver. Ding Xiang then designed 2 sets of jewelry and sold them to a shop for 12 taels. The duo expended 10 taels to hire a carriage to Jianghu City and procured 200 caddies of tea leaves from Yuzhang. After 3.5 days, they reached Jianghu City and sold the tea leaves to the second Dao trafficker for 20 taels of silver. The total cost of the tea leaves was 11 taels. This trip yielded a profit of 9 taels, with only 1 or 2 taels spent to reach Jianghu City. In Jianghu City, Ding Xiang chartered a boat and bought a batch of goods to sell at the next stop. After more than a month, upon reaching Huning City, they managed to cover all their expenses including food, accommodation and transportation, and even earned 2 to 3 yuan. They reveled in laughter for an extended period. Meng Wanfu was brimming with admiration and a sense of ease. Even if he couldn't join the army, he could engage in business with Ding Xiang and make a living. Meanwhile, Ding Xiang, overwhelmed with emotion, was on the verge of tears. The transportation in ancient times was undeniably grueling. Although the journey from south to north covered only a short distance, after more than a month she was utterly exhausted, nearly crippled. Despite her diligent efforts in accumulating goods, her earnings were meager. When they reached Huning City, they still had 65 taels of silver. Ding Xiang decisively took Meng Wanfu and spent 10 taels of silver to rent a small courtyard for a year and a half. Planning to stay for an extended period, staying in an inn which would burn through too much money, was not an option. Meng Wanfu's luck proved favorable. In less than half a month, news of conscription spread. He was promptly selected without any suspense. However, following Ding Xiang's advice, he didn't rush to stand out. Keeping a low profile, he proactively made friends. Only when appropriate did his superior, accidentally, discover that he not only knew how to read but also possessed knowledge of military tactics. Consequently, he swiftly became a member of a general's personal army. Later, Ding Xiang devised a plan for him, and with his intelligence and the fortune of survival, he thrived. Meanwhile, with Meng Wanfu managing her business in Huning City, Ding Xiang's enterprise flourished. She became a renowned businesswoman in the city. Naturally and seamlessly, the two of them married 2 years ago. Meng Wanfu respected and indulged Ding Xiang, never imposing restrictions. When someone offered him a concubine, Ding Xiang wielded a whip and kicked at the door, nearly scaring the person to death. Now, in the military camps around Huning City, everyone knew that Madame Meng was formidable and possessive. No one dared to present General Meng with concubines anymore. Curious about their well-being, Ding Xiang inquired about Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan. She couldn't help but express concern. "Sister, you're a kind-hearted person. I fear those madams and young ladies in the capital aren't to be trifled with. Have they mistreated you in the capital? Will Lord Xiao protect you? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1492. Remember, Xiao Xian had married beneath his status, but with Xiao Yunduan now favored in the East Palace, Ding Xiang was unsure if he would become arrogant or develop undesirable habits as a result. Ding Xiang genuinely cared about Xiao Xian. Internally sweating, Xiao Xian felt stressed under Ding Xiang's concerned gaze. She had never expected someone to describe her as innocent, which left her feeling a bit embarrassed. Ding Xiang persisted, "I truly consider you one of us. If you ever face any injustices, you must inform me. I will ensure justice is served." Having no close relatives and viewing the Ding family as enemies, not family, Ding Xiang couldn't escape the estrangement in her heart. Although her parents' actions, fueled by the belief she was dead, brought relief, the emotional distance remained. Xiao Xian stood out as the only one who offered support during her troubled times, providing the warmth and comfort she craved. This kindness was etched in her memory, a sentiment she would carry with her for the rest of her life. Hearing Ding Xiang's tone, Xiao Xian couldn't help but laugh. She shook her head and replied, "My husband treats me well. He's a good man and am not mistreated. If he ever mistreats me in the future, he'll turn to you for help." "All right, don't forget." They exchanged smiles. Both were curious about each other's cities, Ding Xiang about the capital and Xiao Xian about Huning City. They engaged in conversation throughout the day, parting only when they set up camp at night. With dozens of elites led by Meng Wanfu and Ding Xiang now in their group, everyone felt more secure. With Meng Wanfu standing alone, the fourth prince's subordinates wouldn't dare to act recklessly unless they went insane. Qiao Wei, almost recovered from her injuries, learned about Meng Wanfu and Ding Xiang's identities. In the evening, during their camp setup, she had someone assist her in greeting Ding Xiang. After visiting Xiao Yunduan, Xiao Xian returned to find Qiao Wei conversing with Ding Xiang. Ding Xiang, lowering her eyes, wore an unreadable expression. Disdain crossed Xiao Xian's face as she observed Qiao Wei. Qiao Wei always exuded confidence, but not everyone who seemed close to her agreed with her or considered her a friend. Birds of a feather flock together, and Qiao Wei was not part of that flock. Sensing Xiao Xian's return, Ding Xiang looked up, greeted her with a smile and stood up. "Sister." Xiao Xian smiled, taking a seat beside her. "What were you discussing?" At the affectionate use of sister by Ding Xiang, Xiao Wei's smile froze, replaced by burning jealousy and anger. What audacity! Why was Qiao Wei always present, ingratiating herself with Madame Meng so quickly? How shameless! Envy flared within her. Despite her previous indifference and lack of response to flattery, she found Xiao Xian so friendly. What had Xiao Xian done? Qiao Wei refused to let anyone address her as sister. Xiao Yunduan was merely a fifth-ranked official, not as powerful as General Meng, a third-ranked general. This felt like a trap. How shameless! If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible.